Get some help, Joshua Frick. Get some help. Get some help. For the love of God. For the love of God, get some help. For the love of God. What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC 302. We have Islam Makhachev going against Dustin Poirier. And first show, or first Stat Diggers that is not on Pub Sports Radio. We are here on DFS by the Numbers YouTube channel. And yeah, looking forward to getting into this card. We had a week off, which was nice, and we're getting back into a really good card, Weezy. A lot of spots are sticking out. I know you have a couple of bets already. I have a couple of bets already, and I'm looking forward to pull the trigger on a lot more. So, Weezy, what is up? You looking forward to UFC 302?
Yeah, man. You know, we both went into the off week on a pretty nice up week, and that's always the best way to do it. You don't want to stew on a losing week when you got a week off that you want to enjoy or maybe get some stuff done. So good to go in on a winning week. And now we've got another 5-week stretch here, and then we're going to get July 4th weekend off. So yeah, first Stat Diggers ever on DFS by the Numbers YouTube channel. I'd like to thank Pub Sports Radio for giving this show a home, giving this show a start and a chance, Brady. We were there for over 2 years doing this show. But here we are, you know, we're free agents now, and we're right back here on Brady's channel, and we're happy to be here with you guys. So it's good to be back after the week off, and I'm fired up for this card. I've already got some spots. I've already got over 3 units in tracked bets, and it's going to be going up from there. There's a lot of spots sticking out. I'm waiting for the props to open everywhere, and then we'll see what spots that we can snipe. But the research is most of the way done for the week already, Brady, due to the week off. Let's find these spots. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 302, and let's get off to a killer start here on DFS by the Numbers YouTube channel for the new free agent show, Stat Diggers. You want to sponsor us? Holler at us, right? You want to give us a home? Talk to us, you know? But in the meantime, we're going to be talking to you guys, finding the plus EV spots here that'll make us all a little bit richer, our pockets a little bit fatter watching this sport that we love to watch.
Yeah, right now we're homeless. We're looking for a potential new home for the show. Looking for some sponsors. If you guys want, sponsored, that'd be cool. But until then, we'll be on here doing the show weekly. We're not gonna stop doing it. But yeah, looking to keep the ball rolling. And Weezy, I showed you this before the show because I was so excited. It finally came in. My brand new shirt. It says "Circle the Wagons" because Weezy, the wagons, they're starting to circle. They're starting to move. Kind of rough start to the year, but I had a winning May and a winning April, and I'm looking to make it a winning June. So, and yeah, I went into the break week with a nice week. I barely had any action on last week's card or 2 weeks ago, but I had Melissa Gatto both inside the distance and round 3. And shout out to that quitter, Tamires Vidal, for quitting. I mean, I'm not a female. But come on. That has to be the first tit knockout in UFC history, like off the top of my head. And she's done that before. She tried to quit before in a fight. So, Kashi round 3 knockout off of a tit shot, and went into the break week like that. So that was awesome. Other than that, I say we get into the chat here, and then we'll get into the show. And we have, of course, Dixon first one in here. Thank God Stat Diggers is still alive. Yep. One of my favorite shows, if not my favorite show of the week. It's where we go deep. We take in all angles. We take in haircuts. We take in training hype videos. Everything. We like to go very deep. Does Dixon ever sleep? I don't think so, man. I see Dixon in every chat imaginable. We got Olajuwon in the building. What is up? Mushroom in the building. We have Will Pancake, TH, free UFC bet picks, the Carrillo, Randy Fowler. We got Sean V in the building. There will be blood at Raw Torque, Pickle Kush, and Benino. And yeah, Josh being late. We weren't even that late, were we? I had to fill up my water. I don't know. But We got Matt. We got Zach saying free stat diggers. We need some justice for stat diggers. I agree. Stat diggers lives on. Yes, Weezy is looking very spiffy. Very spiffy.
Yeah, man. Hey, we're free agents now. We got to be a little bit more respectable, perhaps. I put on a collared shirt. There is one in my closet, it turns out. So I busted it out. It's Sunday night. It's Stat Diggers on DFS by the Numbers YouTube channel. We're pulling out all the stops. And by the way, one thing real quick, Brady. Shout out Melissa Gatto for the Titty KO. Yes. Shout out Tamiris Vidal for quitting as a result of the Titty KO. Shout out Narco Cop for actually predicting the Titty KO. And then I don't know if you heard about this, dude. Melissa Gatto, her corner, actually asked Chris Tione when he was going over the rules in the back if titty punches were legal.
Gosh.
Because they had noticed that it had bothered Tamiris in the past. And from what I heard, her corner actually asked Tione if that was a legal shot. He said yes. They picked their shot. They got it. First ever titty KO in the UFC. We witnessed history just a little over a week ago in the UFC, and they called their shot. Narco Cop called it. I mean, it was a special moment for a lot of people.
That's crazy. I predicted a Gatto KO via Vidal tapping to strike, so I was kind of close, but I did not call the tit knockout. I thought she was going to tap to strikes and quit. I told you I thought she was a quitter, and quit she did. My goodness. Will the beanie be on? Yes. Having a terrible hair day. I got like 3 hours of sleep last night. I went to bed at 4, woke up at 7. The beanie's on for today. Let's see what else we got. Why is the UFC taking so many breaks? I have nothing to do on my Saturdays. I think me and Weezy were talking about this because last year there was like an 18-week stretch and like everybody was dead. So I think they're, giving us a couple breaks here and there. We got Forrest in the building. Very excited for this breakdown. I'm really excited for UFC 302. Brady is king. Uncle Weezy is an American treasure. That he is. Pickle Kush saying, hell yeah, guys, bet on it yourself. It wasn't by choice. We were let go, but we're going to make the best out of it. We are certainly going to make the best out of it. And we got Joshua Frick. Look at that.
We got a sponsor, baby. Ring a ding ding.
I told this guy to get some help, and he donated. That's so nice, Josh. I was just joking. You don't need to get any help. I do appreciate that. So look, we got one sponsor for the day. Shout out to Joshua Frick. Gatto sub 3. Close. I just had a round 3 in general. I didn't take the method or nothing. Just round 3 in general. I know Luca Soli like that titty TKO. Yeah, Luca Soli would like something like that. That's for sure. And then we're edging.
Let's go.
All right.
Let's go.
All right. And we got Paul. What is up, Paul? What is up, Garrett? All right, guys. I say we get into it. And I have a special surprise. We made some graphics. I am not artistic at all. And it's also not in the budget to pay somebody for graphics. So this is what y'all are getting. It's not terrible. I put Stat Diggers there, DFS, Uncle Weezy. And then in the background, Stat Diggers, we have like bulldozers.
Yeah, see, I was telling Brady that's what we need. Instead of like the clip art of the dude with a shovel, that could just be any Yahoo. But when you got heavy machinery like that out there digging, you know that there's engineers there, that there's surveyors there, that there's professionals there, there's plumbers there. They know what they're doing. This is not just, some Yahoo with a shovel on a beach trying to look for quarters, We're digging plus EV betting lines here, Brady. Plus EV. That means we got to know a little bit about math. We got to know a little bit about fighting, and we got to know a little bit about these betting markets. And we know a lot about all that shit. So I'm looking to dig. I'm looking to find these spots. I'm looking to stack cash tickets like flapjacks right here. DFS by the Numbers YouTube channel. Stat Diggers, UFC 302, Brady. Let's go.
Let's do it. And they got to bring this up. Perez might be the only fighter that I have both won money on and seen their butthole.
Yikes. And like when I first read this, Brady, I thought to myself, how the hell did he see Alex Perez's butthole? But he means Aylin Perez, actually, and that's accurate. Yeah, it turns out that Aylin Perez evidently, I don't know this, I haven't seen it with my own 2 eyes, but is showing off some things on OnlyFans that is maybe just a little bit nasty. I don't know, man. Like I say, we're breaking down fight film and things of that nature, but I have not seen any of those pictures, and they won't be shown on this channel. This is a family friendly channel, Brady.
Oh God, no. God, they're not going to be shown. I unfortunately have seen them. Don't ask how, but what I will say is they are better than Jessica Andrade's photos, which still haunt me to this day. I still wake up screaming in cold sweats, saying, "Why? Oh my God, I can picture it now. The rose in her mouth. She had a rose in her mouth, nude. I don't know, but anyway, what is a stat digger by definition? Probably a good question for Wheezy.
Well, so when we named this show, I'm not sure who named it, Brady. My girlfriend actually takes credit for it because we're both DJs from back in the day, so there's an old term called crate diggers, and those are the DJs that go into the record stores and they listen to everything and they find those breaks. They find those tracks that are going to get the floor moving, that are going to get asses shaking. So we took crate diggers and that musical terminology of what that meant, put it into MMA betting stat diggers because of the stats packages that I offer and that we highlight here on Stat Diggers. So that is the definition of a stat digger. Somebody that goes into those stats, breaks down all the possible angles and finds the angles in those stats that could lead us to find using those stats to maybe predict a particular kind of outcome. Our guy JB knows all about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Brady doing the extra. We like to cover all angles. What do you mean? Unfortunately, I mean, look it up and you'll understand why. It's not. I'm not a big fan of it, but maybe you are. I don't know. I don't want to see your butthole. All right, let's move on to the first fight of UFC 302. If you guys could, please do us a favor and like the video. We do appreciate all the likes. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be on here for the foreseeable future unless something comes up, which we'll see. But if you guys could, please support. Again, we are a homeless show right now. We're looking for a home. All right, first fight of the card. We have Andre Lima going against Mitch Raposo. We got Andre Lima, who is 25 years old, 5'5", with a 64-inch reach. Andre Lima is 25 years old, 5'7", with a 67-inch reach. It's going to be the same age there for the two. It's going to be Lima with a 2-inch height advantage and then about a 3-inch reach advantage. We have Mitch Raposo, who is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So Mitch Raposo was in the Tough House. He lost to, believe it or not, Ludovic Shalinian. And then he also lost to Jake Hadley on the Contender Series. Had a solid first round, but the second round he got submitted. And then as far as Andre Lima, he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He had a decision win against that Zenedine guy on the Contender Series in a very uneventful fight where Zenedine kind of just did not show up. And then he got a bite of the night against Igor Severino and won that fight by disqualification, which we'll talk more about. So, yeah, Weezy, should be a fun fight here to kick off the card. Raposo is stepping in on short notice. Andre Lima was supposed to fight somebody with the most challenging name I've ever seen. And I'm kind of glad that that guy's off the card because that just wasn't happening, that pronunciation. But in steps Mitch Raposo, who I do know a lot about. And yeah, I think it's a close fight. You know, the odds don't entirely indicate that. It looks like some money's coming in on Lima, but I was actually impressed with Raposo a little bit in terms of the striking. Very quick fighter, has some sneaky power. Like, it's not too often you see flyweights knocking guys out cold, and not the best competition, but he was like sparking some of these guys. Can wrestle a little bit as well. But yeah, Lima's good in his own right. I think it should be an interesting fight to kick off the card. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that you pick that picture of Lima because one of the things we do talk about here on Stat Diggers is funny hats. Yeah. And funny hats are, I mean, how good are they in the UFC? I mean, you can see guys like Shavkat Rakhmonov, Brendan Allen, Habib Nurmagomedov, now Umar Nurmagomedov. Who are some other big funny hat people that are undefeated recently? I mean,
did you say Brendan Allen?
I did say Brendan Allen. Yeah. He's got like a Louisiana squirrel on his head or something like that. I don't know what that thing is, but I'm pretty sure Brendan shot it and skinned it himself. and Shavkat, he trained a falcon to kill the animal that he has on his head. I mean, how badass is that? Not only do you kill an animal, but you train a falcon to do it. I mean, how many fighters do you see that are into falconry? I mean, it's one of those things. It's a great base for MMA. But I'm getting off of the beaten path here with the Lima Raposo fight. Interesting situation here. We want to talk about that this is the third opponent for Andre Lima in this fight. He was originally scheduled to fight Hyung Sung Park. Then it was Niam Jargol, Tumen Dembero. Yeah, I said it. And then, now it's Mitch Raposo here. So, that's always frustrating for anybody to have three different opponents for the same fight. And Raposo is taking this fight, and I think just under 2 weeks' notice here. Lima, a three-time Brazilian kickboxing champion, a two-time South American kickboxing champion, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu brown belt, undefeated as a professional, really good kickboxing on the feet, a lot of power, a lot of good kicks to all targets on the body. Raposo has got really good footwork and really good movement at distance striking range. He's got a really good fast right hand that's got some power on it, and he can wrestle a little bit too and win some minutes in the grappling exchanges. I kind of feel like this line is about where it should be. I favor Lima. I think he's probably going to win this fight by decision. I like both these guys, though. They're both about 25 years old, Brady. But Lima's a little bit bigger. He's a little bit longer. I think he's fought a little bit better brand of competition. I think his wins as a professional are a lot better than Raposo's. Raposo doesn't have any good wins, in my opinion. But he is winning the way you would expect him to win against the type of competition that he's beating. So I think Lima by decision here. But I don't know, minus 200. I don't really feel like I want to lay that kind of juice on Lima here. I'm probably just going to stay away. But this is a 25-year-old versus 25-year-old prospect fight. I think it's going to be a really fun one to start off the card. I bet De Silva against Lima last time. First time I ever lost a bet due to the guy I bet on biting his opponent. You know what? Actually, I bet on Aliev, that Tajikistani dude who bit his opponent and lost a point, actually, because the guy had his hand in his mouth, I guess, and he bit his finger. Either way, if there's somebody's going to bite somebody, your Uncle Weezy's going to find a way to bet on that clown. I'm really doing it way too often, but I guess I kind of like Lima here. Lima by decision would probably be the pick.
Yeah, it looks like Lima is now minus 220, and then Raposo is now plus 185. What kind of scares me, especially laying this price tag on Lima, which I'm definitely not doing, like the takedown defense. I feel like Raposo can potentially mix in some takedowns, and there was a lot of cheating in that Severino fight. Not only
there was.
Like Lima cheated a lot. He grabbed the cage like 7 times. Like he should have got a point taken, but and I thought they were going to take a point, and they ended up being Severino biting him. So yeah, I'm kind of sketched out on the takedown defense of Lima. So maybe Raposo can come in here mixing some takedowns. I think it's going to be closer than this line does indicate, but Raposo coming in here on short notice. I don't know. I think it's one I might just stay away from. So yeah, we have the over under set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 is minus 155, and the under 2.5 is plus 125. No interest for me on this one, from a money line perspective or a totals perspective.
I would have to agree. I mean, whenever I'm going to bet on an over under, I would like to have some UFC experience to lean on if I'm going to be confident one way or another. And Lima's only got one fight that ended by biting, so it's hard to know, whether that one would have went the distance or not. And then with Raposo, this is his UFC debut. He's finished 7 of his 9 wins, but he's finishing, pretty low-level regional scene competition in CES and Cage Titans. So it's a step up in competition for him. Yeah, I don't think I want to bet on this fight either. I think the line is about where it should be for the over-under and for the money line.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of interest in this one for sure. All right. Let's see. Be careful betting against guys with funny hats or girls with neck tattoos or neck tattoos in general. You know, the neck tattoos have been killing it as of late. And he got 25K from Dana White for getting bitten. Seems like a win to me. Yeah, 100%. That was crazy.
Yeah, I'd let that dude bite me for 25K. I mean, we just lost our goddamn jobs, Brady. Yeah. You know, you give me 25K for a bite from Igor Severino, I'm lining up. I'm waiting for it. I'll cash that check.
Yeah, I mean, I'd get bit for 25K. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dana said Lima will be champ during his Contender Series debut. Jeez, best believe they're going to build him up. I guess so. But again, this is his third replacement, right?
Yeah, it is. Third. It's the third replacement, and that's always frustrating. Park first, Tumen Dembarrel second, and now it's Raposo. So three, slightly different fighters. Each one of them is a little, they bring a little bit different style of fighting. So, while Raposo's on short notice, it's not like Lima's had a lot of time to prepare for Raposo, and there's tape on this kid, so he's going to have to do that research.
Yep, 100%. All right, Weezy, let's move on to the next fight. We have, speaking of buttholes, we have Eileen Perez going against Jocelyn Edwards. We got Eileen Perez, 29 years old. She is 5'5" with a 66-inch reach, 9-2 and 4-1. In her last 5 fights, Jocelyn Edwards, 28 years old, 5'8" with a 76-inch reach, 13-5 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. We have, if I can get to it there. So last 5, Eileen Perez is 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She made her debut against Stephanie Egger, lost that fight by second round submission. She beat Ashley Evans Smith by a dominant decision, and then she beat Lucy Pudilova in a 29-28 decision. As far as Jocelyn Edwards, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Decision loss to Jessica Rose Clark, decision win against Ramona Pascual, decision win against Ji-Young Kim, a decision win against Lucy Pudilova, and then a decision loss against Nora Cornhole. So yeah, this is a fight where there was a very concerning thing I saw on the Jocelyn Edwards side. And the concerning thing I saw was the fact that, when fighters are trying to take her down, not only are they successful, but they're like really successful. So I was looking at it through these fights. So between Lucy Pudilova, Jessica Rose Clark, and Carol Hoza, those 3 fighters combined for 30 minutes control time, which I just think is ridiculous. So not only do I think Jocelyn Edwards' takedown defense is not great, but what's even worse is like the get-up game. So once she's taken down, she's content to kind of play off her back. She doesn't really do a good job at working her way back up. So I feel like Eileen Perez should have no problem getting the fight down to the mat. And once she's on top, she has that big ass. It's tough getting a big ass off of you. I know that from experience. So yeah, I like Perez here. Yeah, 100%. I like Perez here. I like Perez to win the. So what concerns me was that Pudilova fight. That's like the one thing holding me back from like being super confident, because she was like really gassed in that 3rd round, which is crazy because she looked really good in the 3rd round against Ashley Evans Smith. But that's like the one thing. The other thing, I guess, is, well, there's 2 other things, which is why I kind of might stay away from this fight. So the other thing is Jocelyn Edwards. The judges love her. The judges absolutely love Jocelyn Edwards. She lost that Pudilova. I thought she lost that Pudilova fight easily. And then there's another fight I thought she really lost as well. And then on top of that, I completely forget. I'm getting distracted. People are making noise outside. Hey. No, nothing. Sorry. Weezy, take it away.
Okay. So yeah, dude, like there's a lot of reasons to like this fight. If you're an ass man, you're probably gonna be watching this one on the big screen. Eileen Perez has got some cheeks on her. Jocelyn Edwards has got some cheeks on her. But from a purely stylistic standpoint here, it was what you mentioned. If you go and you watch the Carol Hosa fight, the Jessica Rose Clark fight, the Lucy Pudilova fight, she's getting control for over a half hour out of 45 total minutes in those fights. And Jocelyn Edwards is a good striker. She's got a positive 3.6 distance striking differential. So for every minute that she's spending at distance striking range, Brady, she's landing 3.6 more strikes per minute than her opponents are. So she's doing an excellent job of when she's at distance striking range. But here's the problem. She only spends 50% of her time at distance striking range. And guess what? Aylin Perez only spends 17% of her UFC cage time at distance striking range. So right now, when you look at that stat sheet and you see the green here, and then you see all the red over here on Jocelyn Edwards' side, it just means that there is a big minute winning differential between Perez wins a bunch of minutes in the grappling exchanges and Jocelyn Edwards loses a bunch of minutes in the grappling exchanges. And from what we know from how these two ladies fight, there's a very good statistical probability, Brady, that this fight takes place in control time positions, maybe 2/3 of the time. And if that's the case, I don't really see how Jocelyn Edwards is going to win this fight, because Aylin Perez's wrestling has been very good thus far at the UFC level. Almost 5 takedowns per 15 minutes, almost 10 attempts per 15 minutes. She's out controlling her opponents 54.5% to 28%. So I think that this is an interesting fight. I think Aylin Perez is going to take Jocelyn Edwards down and beat 7 shades of shit out of her on the ground. But if she's unable to do that, and if Jocelyn's takedown defense is ready and she keeps this fight standing, Jocelyn does have some power on the feet. All of her fights have went to decision thus far at the UFC level, but she hits pretty hard. It's just she can't keep the fight standing long enough in order to land big shots. But these two ladies don't like each other, Brady. They got into a fight at the UFC Performance Institute right before Perez's last fight against Lucy Pudilova. So I think that Perez is going to win this fight. I think she's going to maul Jocelyn Edwards. And I actually think that Aylin Perez is going to get a finish here. And if she doesn't, I could see Jocelyn Edwards potentially getting a finish, because Aylin Perez can get a little sloppy. She can get put in bad spots on the ground. And I could see Jocelyn landing some ground and pound. And in addition, the bad blood going into this fight, I think that there's an opportunity here for violence, right? Because all of Jocelyn Edwards' fights thus far at the UFC level have went to decision. But with Perez, I think that there's bad blood here. I think that both of these ladies, while this fight is on the feet, Edwards is going to be a lot better. I think while this fight is on the ground, Perez is going to be landing big ground and pound and really working on Jocelyn Edwards. And we gotta mention this. These ladies that are taking down Jocelyn Edwards are not known for being murderous, wrestlers. This isn't Tatiana Suarez out there taking her down 7 times. This is Carol Hossa. This is Jessica Rose Clark. And if you look at Lucy Pudilova, right? I mean, Perez threw Pudilova around like a rag doll. And Pudilova's throwing Jocelyn Edwards around like a rag doll. Ergo, via MMA math, which is always right, Brady, Aylin Perez absolutely throws Jocelyn Edwards all over the cage like a Greco-Roman wrestling match, and probably beats her up pretty bad. But I bet the under 2.5 rounds here. I got it at plus 240. It's now plus 306, and I'm thinking about actually doubling down, because I really do think that either one of these ladies could get a finish here. And I think that that the over is going to get hit quite a bit here. And I think it's going to be opportunity for under bettors to sneak one in here at better than plus 300. I like that a lot, but I think Aylin Perez is going to beat the shit out of Edwards, finish her in the second round via GNP.
Yeah, I think it's definitely Perez or pass, and I was kind of surprised to see money coming in on Jocelyn Edwards, just because every time somebody tries to take her down, it's just bad, man. It's just bad. And I was thinking maybe this is why money's coming in on Edwards, because Edwards did give her a black eye. So maybe people are saying, oh, they got into a fight at the Apex. Jocelyn Edwards won that, but it's just so different. Like Perez is going to wrestle, and I think she's going to have success wrestling. So I'm looking hard at Perez, minus 195. Kind of want to see where the line goes. And yeah, you mentioned the over is getting smashed. The over opened up minus 350. It's now minus 406. And then the under opened up plus 275. It's currently plus 306. So yeah, that is a very wide over there.
Yeah, it is. It is. And like I say, with the bad blood, with Aylin Perez's ground and pound, with Edwards' good stand-up, you know, I mean, it's not exactly something that's going to finish inside the distance a ton of the time, but it doesn't have to at plus 300 for you to make some money when it does.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to kind of see what Perez inside the distance is. I doubt it's much better, but I don't know. I just can't imagine Edwards finishing anybody, but you never know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Edwards could get a sub. Maybe she's kind of opportunistic off her back. Maybe, I don't know, but I don't know. I'm taking Perez here. Rick says Perez sucks. Don't be fooled. This guy hyping her up. It's all about the matchup. Like, you can think she sucks if she wants, but I'll tell you what sucks is just Edwards' ground game. It's terrible. So maybe she does suck. I know she's sucking on her OnlyFans, but I think she has a path here, a really, really good path.
Yeah, then, let me talk for just a sec, Brady, here, because it's the numbers in those fights. You know, I mean, like Jocelyn Edwards got taken down 4 times by Carol Hossa and controlled for 11 minutes and 13 seconds in that fight. She got taken down 5 times by Jessica Rose Clark, a kickboxer, and controlled for 11 minutes and 40 seconds of that fight. She got taken down twice by Lucy Pudilova, somebody who had been taken down a ton of times and who had lost her previous UFC fights due to her lack of takedown defense.
And Weezy. She got taken down by Yanan Wu, who I don't think is affiliated with the Wu Tang Clan.
We did the research on that. I did the research on that, Brady. Okay. I actually called up the son of Old Dirty Bastard, and I'm like, hey, look, is Wu Yanan affiliated? And he was like, who? So I knew immediately right then that she has nothing to do with them. That was a photoshopped picture. Somebody photoshopped Wu Yanan in her UFC fight kit onto the 36 Chambers album cover, and now everyone thinks she's affiliated with them. She's not. She's not. And Wu Yanan did what, Brady?
She took her down and controlled her for a couple minutes.
That's terrible. That's terrible. You know, it's not the RZA or the Jizza or you know, Inspector Deck or any of them taken down. It's actually Wu Yanan. So yeah, man. That's why, you know, I'm hyping up the matchup here. This is a good matchup for Aylin Perez.
Yeah, by the way, where's Dixon? Dixon's supposed to be like our insider in terms of we need to find out who has that OnlyFans and who doesn't.
Yeah, well, we know that Aylin has one. I don't think Jocelyn does, but I think she could have a popular one if she chose to do one, because she fills out those Venom shorts in a very, very inspiring and interesting way, Brady.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. What is up? What is up, Daniel? All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the next fight. We have Bassil Hafez going against Mickey Gall. I don't believe either of these guys have OnlyFans. So we got Hafez, who is 32 years old. He is 5'11" with a 72-inch reach, 8-4, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Gall, 32 years old, 6'2" with a 74-inch reach, 7-5 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So we have Mickey Gall, who hasn't fought in a while. How long has it been, Weezy? Like 2 years. 2 years since Mickey Gall has fought. And then Bassil Hafez made his debut against Jack Della Maddalena. He lost that fight, but I think his stock skyrocketed just because people thought, Jack was going to starch him, make it look easy. He ended up going the full 15, which that was one of the very few times that Jack Della Maddalena was pushed the full 15 minutes. Yeah, for me, this line is just way too wide, but at the same time, it's really hard to pick Mickey Gall to win a UFC fight. So it's like, do I want to lay minus 300 on Bassil Hafez? Absolutely not. Do I want to take the dog shot on Mickey Gall? I don't really think so. Bassil Hafez, he's shown some good things. He's fought out of CFFC, which is an organization that I really do like. His wrestling, solid control, good grappling, some power on the feet as well. Mickey Gall, it's like you look at his wins and they're just terrible. CM Punk, Mike Jackson, Sage Northcutt, George Soul. These are just trash wins, man. So I mean, if he beats Hafez, it's probably his best win, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, kind of how I see this fight playing out is I think Hafez can win some minutes here on top. I think he'll have no problem getting takedowns here. Mickey Gall kind of folds like a lawn chair, doesn't mind being off his back. So I'm kind of leaning like Hafez control-based decision. But I don't know, minus 300 is kind of crazy. We talk about it all the time, Weezy, overrating somebody in a loss. And that's what I think people are doing. I'm not sure Basil Hafez is this like next big thing. So I don't know. I'm probably going to pick Hafez by decision, but I want nothing to do with this fight. I don't trust either of these guys. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, I thought you broke it down perfectly. I mean, there's no way I'm laying minus 275 on Basil Hafez here because first of all, we don't really know what Gall is going to look like, right? I mean, 2 years off. So it's fair if people want to say, you know what? I'm betting that this guy Gall shows up out of shape because we've certainly seen that before. You remember that Diego Sanchez fight, dude?
No.
Okay, so Gall's fighting Diego Sanchez. They have a fairly high pace round one. Yeah, and Gall gasses out after one round. At the beginning of round two, there's one point where Gall shoots in for a takedown, and Diego separates from him, and Gall's so tired that he puts his hand up on the top of the cage and rests for a second, and then gets back into that fight and gets immediately finished after that. Completely showed up out of shape. This guy does not have great conditioning. Now he's on a 2-year layoff. He's 32 years old, and we haven't seen him in 2 years, so you got to wonder, is this guy training full-time? How is he making a living if he hasn't had a fight in 2 years? If he hasn't made any money off of fighting, is he even, does he have a full-time job? What's he doing, and he's lost 3 out of his last 4 fights. Now they're against really good competition, to be fair. I mean, Mike Mallet beats the shit out of Basil Hafez. Alex Morono beats Basil Hafez. Mike Perry beats Basil Hafez. And like you mentioned, the wins for Gall, Jordan Williams, Salim Tuari, Sage Northcutt, CM Punk, Mike Jackson, George the Silencer Sullivan. These are not awe-inspiring wins. So it feels like an absolute stay away because the one thing I asked myself after I was done taping this fight was, where exactly is Basil Hafez looking minus 270 against Mickey Gall? Because Mickey's taller than him. He's longer than him. He's pretty much as experienced as him overall, but he's got way more UFC experience. Mickey Gall's fought the way better, not the way better brand of competition, but he's fought the better brand of competition. But I'm not sure which one of these guys actually even has the better wins. Because you could look at that okay win of Basil Hafez over Anthony Ivy on the regional scene, Brady. But then you could also say, okay, but that Anthony Ivy win's about as good as any of these wins that Mickey Gall has on his record, So I mean, this is a stay away from me. I'm not putting money on Mickey Gall at plus money because I have no idea what he's going to come out here looking like. But I don't think Basil Hafez looks minus 270 anywhere against Mickey Gall. He's not that much better of a striker than him. He's not that much better of a grappler than him. Even though Hafez's heart, in my opinion, is 10 times bigger than Mickey Gall's, let's face it, they both have dog shit conditioning. Hafez gets tired in every single fight. Yeah. So, I mean, I just, it's just a stay away. It's just a stay away for me.
Yeah, it's gross. It's just gross. I don't trust either. Yeah, I don't trust Hafez at minus 300. Just wild. But at the same time, picking Mickey Gall to win a fight is also very, very tough to do. But we have Hafez who opened up minus 450. Wow. Currently minus 285, and Mickey Gall opened up plus 350, is currently plus 245. The over-under is set at, do you have it at 1.5 or 2.5?
Let me look here.
I see both, but
I've got 2.5 here. I had the 2.5 at plus 115 for the over and minus 145 for the under. What do you have the 1.5?
The over 1.5 minus 200, and then the under 1.5 is plus 150. And I want nothing to do with any of those totals, I don't think.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I would much rather bet an under here because of the question marks on the Gall side with the 2-year layoff. There could have been injuries. It could be that he's just showing up for a check here. We don't know. And Hafez, he comes out to scrap. When he's throwing punches, he's looking to take your head off. When he's on the ground, he's looking to take your head and just twist it off like a Barbie doll. So I mean, I think somebody's going to get served here, dude.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know what's going to happen in this fight, but what I do know is I'm not betting on it. And we got Lou Betcha in the building. What is up, Brady Weezy? Are you guys breaking down the Champions League final? I need the plays. What is it, Champions
League? Is the Chicago Sting in that? Is Arnold Steffenhagen still playing? Is
that soccer? What is that?
Yes. He's talking about the Champions League, the European, all like the Spanish league, the Premier League, the Serie A. They get the champions from all those leagues and they put them in a big tournament against each other to determine who's the best European soccer club. And yeah, it's been a minute. It's been since the Chicago Sting games as a kid for me, since I've watched some soccer back in the days of Karl-Heinz Granitza, Arno Steffenhagen, some greats like that, Brady. They were playing soccer about 30 years before you were born.
Dang, yeah, I've watched one soccer game. Well, like half of one before.
My grandfather played professionally in Greece for Panathinaikos, so I mean, I do come from some soccer in my lineage for sure.
There you go. All right, let's Brady just say Pele, and we can move on. All right, Pele. Let's move on to the next fight. We have a rematch. Got a rematch here. Alex Morono going against Nico Price. We got Alex Morono, 33 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach, 24-9 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Nico Price is 34 years old, 6 foot with a 76-inch reach, 15-7, and he has 1-3-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. So we have. Let's see. So yeah, Nico Price, kind of worried about the guy. So like I said, 3-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. He had a no contest against Donald Cerrone. I believe he popped for marijuana there as well.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, both times he popped for weed. Yeah.
Yeah. So he popped for weed in the Cerrone fight, popped for weed in the Morono fight as well. And then he lost to Michel Pereira by decision. No shame in that. He beat Alex Oliveira by decision. He lost to Phil Rowe by knockout in the 3rd round, and then he lost to Robbie Lawler by knockout in the 1st round. I was there live, and I was stunned. I think everybody there was stunned because Robbie Lawler was like 40-41. It was a retirement fight, and Nico Price is typically a tough guy, and Lawler just starched him, just folded him like a lawn chair. It was crazy. And yeah, I'm worried about Nico because, man, this is a guy that's taken a ton of damage throughout his career. He's in war after war after war. And although he's only 34 years old, I feel like in fight years, he's like 80. And on top of that, he has like 80 kids as well. And that'll put years on your life too. I have 1 kid and I already identify as 60. So Nico Price is... It's not easy at all. So yeah, I'm worried about him. Worried about the damage. He took a ton of damage against Rowe. Took a ton of damage against Lawler. And now they're doing the rematch where you go back and watch their first fight. I'm not sure what you can really take from it. It was so long ago, back in 2017. But Morono was looking good early. He drops Price early in the 1st round and then drops him at the end of the 1st round. And Price kind of got saved by the bell. The 2nd round comes around. Morono's looking really good. And then Price knocks him out cold. And Morono's like against the fence out cold, and the ref just isn't saying anything. I don't think the ref notices, and it's like 10, 15 seconds goes by, and Morono's still like laying there, and then the ref finally calls it off. So great win, but that was what, eight years ago at this point, and since then, like I said, Price has taken so much damage. I think this is a good spot for Morono. Of course, Price is dangerous. He has power, but I think Morono's going to be both the minute winner, and I feel like if Robbie Lawler is knocking you out in 15 seconds, I feel like Morono could do something something similar. So yeah, I'm worried about Nico Price, and I'm a big Nico Price fan as well. It's just it's getting kind of hard to watch at this point. So I'm definitely leaning Morono minus 220. It's not terrible. Um, but yeah, actually, it's not terrible. I don't think. And by the way, this is me and Nico Price back in 2020, 4 years ago, and like 100 pounds ago. I had the COVID mask on, and Nico Price shot in on a single leg, and I showed off great takedown defense. I was pushing the head down, and I was able to stuff his takedown. So take that, Nico Price. I was able to stuff your takedown. So yeah, I like Morono here. I'm not sure how I'm going to play it, but I think he probably can knock him out at some point. I think the chin's dust at this point. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, it's interesting, because like my first thought was, oh, Morono is going to probably starch this dude. Nico's washed up. Nico's only won one of his last 6 fights, dude. 1 win, 4 losses, and a draw. And the draw came to the rotting corpse of Donald Cerrone. So there's that. That's why this line is where it's at. But I guess if you watch Morono, he's about as unathletic as it gets. He's 33 years old, pushing 34. Dude, this guy's got 10 more fights than Nico Price. This guy's got 150 more minutes of cage time than Nico Price. He's got 4 more UFC fights and over 100 more minutes in the UFC octagon than Nico Price does. I just think he's got about 7 less kids. And I think that's really going to be the difference maker here, because like you said, man, this guy's in South Florida there with a bunch of kids running around his house, injuring him constantly. 7 or 8 kids for Nico Price.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
So, dude, that's a ton of kids, man. So there's, I don't know, dude. Maybe Nico is washed up, but maybe Alex is too. It's not like Alex has got this phenomenal speed or explosiveness or athletic ability or wrestling game to lean on. Like he actually said, I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so I don't have to grapple. I want to stand and bang. So if he's going to stand and bang against Nico Price, this fight could be a coin flip, dude. It really could look like that. But getting starched in round number 1 by a retiring Robbie Lawler, if that wasn't a dive, if it wasn't, that's a horrible look. And the Philip Rowe fight, though, dude, he was close to getting Rowe out of there in the 3rd round. You remember that? He was putting it on Philip Rowe, and then he ran out of energy, and then Rowe still had something left in the tank, and then he came back and he finished Nico. But you brought it up, Brady. It's the fight years for Price. There's fights that he's won where he's been getting his ass shaved up until the point that he won. There's fights that he's lost where he's been winning, or it's been back and forth. That Luque fight, you remember that, dude?
Oh, yeah.
That was crazy, dude. He almost finished Michel Pereira in round number 3. Pereira got a little bit tired. So I think that this is going to be a fun fight. I think this is great matchmaking. These guys both come to scrap every single time. I think it's going to be really fun. But I think this line is too wide on Alex Morono. Dude, you don't lay minus 220 on Alex Morono. Even when you cash, you're like, I don't know about that. Up until he got that guillotine on Tim Means, that fight was kind of close, wasn't it? I don't know, man. I'm not laying that kind of juice, not on this dude. Nico Price is bigger. I think he's more athletic, and he's got serious power.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's a reason the line's kind of where it's at. I think Nico's done, unless it was a dive against Lawler, but I don't know. It's hard to.
Yeah, some people seem to think it. I'm never going to say that. I'm never going to accuse a UFC fighter of taking a dive unless like it affected me financially and I'm angry. This one didn't. So, I think I'm just going to say, like good on. What that knockout kind of reminded me of how Madsen got knocked out by Gordon. It was kind of like an uppercut there in the clinch a little bit, and that's what happened there. Or maybe he didn't see it coming.
It was bad. Like if it was a bad look to me. So yeah, I gotta go Morono. But yeah, am I laying this price on him? No, I'm not. But what I find very interesting is this total. Like the under 2.5 is minus 130. Like that, these guys are going to swing dicks. I think these guys are going to stand in the middle and they're going to swing dicks. And I think it's all going to come down to who has the bigger dick here. So I think the under 2.5 at minus 130. Nico Price is extremely dangerous. I think Nico Price's chin is completely dust. I think somebody's getting finished here, and at minus 130, I was not expecting that. With all things considered, like this guy just got finished in 10 seconds by Lawler. So I'm taking a hard look at that under 2.5 at minus 130 there.
Agreed. I'll probably be right there with you. I think stylistically, I like it. Let's bring up that OU tab. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at that. Available on my Patreon, Brady. We can take a look at that C line there. Is it highlighting on your screen? No, it's not. But the minus 130 there. The benchmark for the division, 45.5%. We're paying 56, but 11 of 16 Nico Price fights and 7 of 20 Morono fights. So 50% of their combined 36 fights have finished under 2.5 rounds. So the data doesn't love it. The data actually likes the over at the price a little bit more than the under, but stylistically, dude, with Nico Price getting knocked out in his last 2 losses, with Morono getting some finishes lately, yeah, I could see this one finishing.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Don't mind that at all. Nico coming out for a paycheck guaranteed under sounds good. Minus 130. Yeah, I was kind of
I like that too.
Yeah, I like it as well. Narrative baseline with Nico being washed. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I think these guys are going to swing dick. So, Nico Price still has a ton of power, and Morono's been knocked out quite a few times as well. So, yeah, I think somebody's probably getting served here. All right, Weezy, let's move on now to the next fight, and a fight I really have no idea what to do with. We have Jake Matthews going against Phil Rowe. We got Jake Matthews, 29 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach, 19-7. Phil Rowe, 33 years old, 6'3" with an 80.5-inch reach, 10-4. We're going to have Matthews, who is going to be at a 4-inch height disadvantage and like an 8.5-inch reach disadvantage as well. It's a tough fight because you take a look at like Jake Matthews is just so inconsistent. Like there's some fights where Jake Matthews looks incredible. It's like, oh, this guy's turning a corner. And then there's other fights where it's like, Jake Matthews, what are you doing out there? I mean, that Andre Fialho performance was the best we've ever seen Jake Matthews. But then now looking back at it, it's like, is Andre Fialho, so I guess we can't take that into account too much. But and then on Phil Rowe is like kind of like Homer Simpson to me, where he's losing a lot of these fights. Like he's losing the first round of fights. Kosi was taking him down, controlling him. And then Kosi gasses out and he gets finished in the second round. Jason Witt was taking him down and winning as well. And then Jason Witt gets knocked out in the second round. The thing with Jake Matthews is I don't think he has, Jason Witt's durability, and I don't think he has Kosi's cardio. So I'm leaning Jake Matthews to be the minute winner here, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to trust him. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, I don't know what to think of this either. I guess that plus 135 on Rowe is kind of interesting just because Rowe's got serious power, dude. The guy really does hit very hard. He's huge for the division. It's difficult to close distance against this guy. And Jake Matthews isn't really somebody that we can count on to go out there and wrestle offensively a whole ton. He does win a lot of the grappling exchanges in his fights, but his grappling efficiency number it's just okay, Rowe has been controlled for 35% of his UFC cage time. So you kind of have to have confidence in the fight IQ of Jake Matthews to go out there and do the right thing here, because at distance striking range, I don't like this spot for him. Jake gets knocked down about as often as he gets knocked down. So like he doesn't have a big power differential, but Rowe with that 1% distance knockdown percentage, the guy's got a ton of power. He's got a really sneaky Brazilian jiu-jitsu game. He trains with killers over there at Fusion XL, and he's super long for the weight class. So it makes it so that he can find some submissions that other people wouldn't be able to, some chokes and things of that nature. 6-1 to the KO is Rowe, 4-0 to the submission. And we've seen, Jake Matthews get submitted 3 different times in the UFC and knocked out once. So I guess I kind of like Rowe here. I mean, I think at range, he's going to be landing the more impactful shots. And like I said, when was the last time you saw Jake Matthews go out there and really win a fight with his grappling? Getting takedowns in 2 or 3 rounds. It's been a while. Darius Flowers is not UFC level. Neither is Andre Fialho. Those are his last 2 wins. And so, I mean, I would not be laying juice on Jake Matthews flying from Australia to wherever. Where is this one? Is it in Vegas?
New York, I think.
Oh, New York. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Even New York is even worse flight.
Or is it New Jersey?
Oh, either way, East Coast, not fun for Australians to make that trip. I'll tell you that right now. So, yeah, man, and Phil Rowe just has to come right up that eastern seaboard from Florida, straight up there. He's not even going to be in a different time zone. So, yeah, I think I'm leaning to the Rowe side here. But Matthews is the more experienced fighter, a lot craftier, fought the better level of competition overall. So I would have to say that he's got a path here.
Yeah, I mean, it's minute winner versus moment winner for me. I mean, you look at all of Rowe's fights. I mean, he's losing tons of minutes. Like in the Price fight, he was losing pretty much that entire fight to like the last couple minutes. Witt took him down 4 times. Kosi took him down. He lost the Gabe Green fight. He was losing the Leon Shabazian fight. He's a comeback guy. So I would look at maybe like the Rowe finish only, potentially. He has a 100% finish rate. He's never won a decision. And like I said, I can see why. He's not a minute winner. Matthews decision only, something like that, but I doubt I'd touch this fight. I don't trust either of these guys. Jake Matthews is about as inconsistent as you can get, and I just really haven't been impressed with Rowe at all in any of his fights. So it's probably one I'm just going to stay away from. But we have Matthews opened up a pick'em just about -115. He's currently -165, and then Phil Rowe opened up -105. He's currently +145. The over/under, we got a 1.5 and a 2.5. The 2.5, the over is -150. And then the under 2.5 is +120. I doubt Matthews is finishing Rowe. Rowe's super tough. If anything, it's maybe Rowe getting a finish. So once again, I don't like a line from the money line, and I don't really like a total in this one. And trust me, guys, there's a lot of spots I love on this card, but it's mostly towards that main card. Some of these prelims are sketching me out, and this is, all Jake Matthews fights are sketchy, so I'm staying away from this one.
Yeah, and like Matthews got 19 UFC fights, so it's like it's hard to get your thumb on the pulse of who he is as a fighter because there's so much tape to go through, and like you said, the ups and the downs and the inconsistencies. So yeah, laying juice on those kind of fighters is a little bit scary. I'm not going to be doing it.
No. Well, there is one fighter that's really inconsistent that I really do like on this card. We'll talk about him, but yeah, Jake Matthews, no, unless he's fighting Darius Flowers, then I'll bet on him. And by the way, I did, and that was good. That was when I had the round 2 for Jake Matthews and the round 2 sub. It was phenomenal. But Phil Rowe is not Darius Flowers.
No, he's not. He's got big power like Darius Flowers, but he's a different problem to deal with for sure.
Yeah. And by the way, we have 300 live viewers. Appreciate you guys. If you guys are new on the channel, if you guys could subscribe, we're going to be going live every Sunday on here until we if we even find a new home at all for the show. Unfortunately, we got let go at Pub Sports, and we're trying to find a new home for the show. And if not, it's fine. We'll just do it on here and carry on. All right, Weezy, let's move on now to the next fight. We have Grant Dawson going against Joe Solecki. And we have Grant Dawson, who is 30 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach. Joe Solecki, 30 years old, 5'9", with a 70-inch reach. Same age there. It's going to be Grant Dawson with a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. Grant Dawson is 3-1-1 draw in his last 5 fights. He had a knockout loss to Bobby Green his last time out, which was kind of a shocking outcome. Beat Damir Ismagulov by decision. He submitted Mark Madsen, submitted Jerry Gordon, and then had a draw against Ricky Glenn. As far as Joe Solecki, He is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Jim Miller. Decision loss against Jared Gordon. Decision win against Alex De Silva. There's like a gunshot outside my house. Hopefully everybody's all right. Maybe it's a firework. Either way,
you can tell that Brady's not from Chicago. We hear that shit all the time over here.
Yeah, there shouldn't be gunshots where I live. I live in a pretty nice neighborhood, but you never know. Maybe there's a heated argument. And then Carl Deaton, the third submission win, and then a knockout loss to Jakar Close. And yeah, Grant Dawson is the second biggest favorite on the card, right behind Islam Makhachev. And I really like Grant Dawson in this matchup. You take a look at Dawson. This guy has 23 fights. The times he's losing is because he's getting knocked out. So it's like, okay, maybe the chin of Grant Dawson is maybe a problem, but he's going against Joe Solecki, who has, I don't even know if this guy's a knockout. Do you know, does Joe Solecki have one knockout?
No, as a matter of fact, I think he tried to bust a grape in the gym, and the grape was still edible and completely firm. So, like, yeah, dude, I don't think he has any knockouts.
So it's
zero
safe to say,
to his career, yeah.
It's safe to
zero
say
knockouts, and he can't even bust a grape.
Safe to say that Joe Solecki's not knocking out Grant Dawson. Maybe a cold shower could knock out Grant Dawson. I'm not sure, but yeah, this should be Grant Dawson, man. I just think wherever Joe Solecki's good at, I just think Grant Dawson's better. I think the striking for both is not great, but I think Grant Dawson's the better striker. I think he's making improvements in the striking. I think the biggest difference, though, is the wrestling. Grant Dawson, I just feel like he's going to be able to dictate where this fight takes place. I feel like he's going to be the guy winning minutes on top. And he's a problem. On the mat, he's a problem. Great control, great back takes, decent cardio as well. And he has a ton of late finishes too. So I feel like it's a tough matchup for Joe Solecki. I'm not really sure how he wins this one. I don't think he's subbing Grant Dawson off his back. I don't think he's knocking out Dawson. And I struggle to see him winning a decision as well. So I do like Dawson here quite a bit. Don't have anything on him yet. Was looking at Dawson as maybe like a parlay piece, but haven't found that other parlay piece yet. But I like Dawson to win this fight, either like a dominant decision or, Grant Dawson is pretty much at this point known for that round 3 finish. He has tons of them. So maybe Grant Dawson round 3, but I'm guessing they're gonna price it pretty poorly considering he has like I think 3 or 4 of them in the UFC. So Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Dude, I had Grant Dawson to win in round 3 against Leonardo Santos at plus 1,400. And I was walking out of the room with 10 seconds left and then heard when I came running. I can't believe I cashed that bet. That was one of the luckiest cashes I've ever had as a gambler. But yeah, Dawson does get a lot of third round finishes. And I think that's one of the two biggest differences between Dawson and Solecki is Solecki always slows down, dude. He can have success early in fights, but then if he's getting resistance like he did in the Gordon fight, like he did in the Alex De Silva fight, he slows down as the fight goes on, and he's not nearly as effective with his grappling. It's kind of the opposite with Grant Dawson. Outside of the Glenn fight, where he got reversed in round number 3 and got beaten up like the second half of that round and 10-8'd for a draw. Outside of that, Grant always seems to get better as the fight goes on. Another thing that I've noticed too is that Solecki's sloppy, man. He gets reversed a lot. He's given up 3 reverses in 7 UFC fights. While Grant Dawson is the kind of guy when he takes you down and he gets to your back, you're staying there for the rest of the round. I mean, that's all there is to it. Either that or you're going to lose by rear naked choke. So I think Dawson's a lot more precise on the ground. I think Dawson's got a lot better of a chance to win the rounds, to win the second and the third round in this fight due to his constant grappling pressure. And he can get back out when he is put on the bottom. And I think that he is the better wrestler here in comparison to Solecki as well. And Grant Dawson's ability to be able to get to his opponent's backs is phenomenal, Brady. He's top 3 in the UFC in being able to get his opponent's backs, staying there and winning minutes and moments from that position. It's basically, it's one of those things. You know what Grant Dawson is going to do. You know what his game plan is going to be. You train to stop it, and he does it anyway. I mean, the way that he just dominated Damir Ismagulov who's a very good grappler. It was incredibly impressive. We both had Grant Dawson's money line at plus money in that fight. And I thought that was a great spot for him. So, yeah, I like Dawson here. I think he's a potential maybe parlay piece at minus 330. But I think he's gonna win this fight, win it pretty dominantly. And I could even see him getting a late finish here. Maybe I'm going to see what that Dawson round 3 decision line is at. And if I could get that at a nice discount in comparison to the minus 330 money line, maybe that's how I play Grant this week.
They've been making trash round props lately. They have caught on and more. I mean, these round props are just trash. Just absolutely trash. So they're probably going to put like plus 450 because they know like he's done it so many times. But yeah, maybe if they do have it at like a decent number, I'm right there with you. I think that late finish is live. I think Dawson round 3 decision is not a bad look. But yeah, I think it's a good matchup for him here. So yeah, I like Dawson, and I'm going to try to find a way to play him, whether it is that round 3 decision, something like that. Maybe a parlay piece as well. But Dawson opened up minus 450, currently minus 330. Joe Solecki opened up plus 350, currently plus 270. The over-under set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 is minus 200. The under 2.5 is plus 160. No strong lean on the total for me. I think there could be like a late finish. So if I was betting violence, I'd bet like the fight doesn't go. But I could also see this going to decision just because Joe Solecki is a black belt. He's not going to get submitted easily out there like a Mark Madsen. And I could see a Dawson decision. So I don't really like a total. Any thoughts on the total for you?
Maybe the over 1.5 at minus 195, Brady, on DraftKings. I like that because 7 of 9 Dawson fights have went over 1.5. For Solecki, it's 5 of 7. And then you look at the ones that have went under for those guys. You know, that Bobby Green fight was still a little bit of a weird one, you know, and that's one of them that went under. So that's actually a trifecta bet on my over-under template, Brady. So I would say the over 1.5 at minus 195 could be a decent parlay piece because not only does the data like it, Grant Dawson's not getting early finishes, and Solecki's not finishing anybody that could grapple their way out of a paper bag in the first 7.5 minutes, and that certainly includes, you know, Grant Dawson. I don't think he's submitting Grant Dawson. So, I think that over 1.5 is a nice parlay piece this week potentially.
Agreed. I agree. I like it. All right. Let's see. We got Luke. What is up, Luke? Yes. Sparring with Reality. And by the way, he will be on the Probability Show on Wednesday. It'll be on this channel Wednesday. We'll be going live, going through all these fights, and looking forward to having Luke on. It's going to be our first probability guest.
Yeah, because, Brady and I, we talk in the DMs all week, and a lot of times we have similar views on how a fight's going to go, but it's nice to get other people in here because then we can look at the betting models, we can look at what the data says, and then we can take my stylistic read, Brady's stylistic read, Luke's stylistic read, and man, Luke is on fire this year, dude. He is absolutely putting up massive numbers. So I feel really lucky for the first guest of Probability, which is going to be a subscriber-only show, and it has been actually for a minute now. But we're going to be putting it out for free this week to try to build some members on that Patreon to have that subscriber-only content going forward, because Probability definitely one of the most innovative shows on the web, and to have access to these kind of betting models that I've created, I think is going to make all of us better gamblers that are on that tier and sharing this information together.
Yep. And it has. I feel like since we brought the show back, my results have skyrocketed. So I don't think it's a coincidence. I really don't. All right. What else do we got here? Are we still doing the weekly DFS show live on Pub Sports? Unfortunately, we are not. And it's still up in the air if we're going to be doing that show going forward as well, unfortunately. So we'll see. We'll see. And Dogfather saying, I feel like I deserve an award for watching the Dawson tape, just diving at low singles and back. Yeah, I mean, if you watched one Dawson fight, you probably watched them all. I mean, it's the same thing, and it's dominant. Nobody can stop it. So, why not? Why not just do that? The over 2.5 minus 200 for the Dawson fight. If you can get 1.5 at that, grab it before it's gone. Yep, I believe it's still there on DraftKings.
They just changed it to 2.5.
Oh,
God damn it. Yeah, they had the over 2.5 now at -195, and they had put the 1.5 there.
Yeah. And actually, so DraftKings opened up the over 1.5 at -145.
Ooh.
And that was there for 1 hour and 45 minutes.
I got to take that off of my betting model now because people are going to see that -195 and they're going to think I'm a liar.
Yeah, you don't want people to
damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a 2.5, an over 2.5, dude. The under 2.5 at +160, that has my eye.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd go with
the fight. The fight doesn't go just because Dawson has a couple wins. I think after that 2.5 round mark. I know the Santos one was for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. So he had a round 3 against Matson that just barely went under 2.5, 2 minutes and 5 seconds into the third. The Jared Gordon third round was over 2.5, 4 minutes, 11 seconds into the third. The Leonardo Santos was over 2.5 with 1 second left in the fight. And he also, then he had a couple round 2s as well. So, yep, I don't know. But yeah, I do like Dawson in this matchup. All right, we'll move on, Wheezy, to the next fight. We have a very fun fight here. We have Roman Kopylov going against Cesar Almeida. We have Almeida, who is 36 years old, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. Kopylov is 33 years old, 6 foot with a 75-inch reach. We have Kopylov, who's 3 years younger. He's going to be at a 1-inch height disadvantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Cesar Almeida, 5-0 in his only 5 fights. He made his debut against Dylan Bucka, lost the first round. Bucka pretty much humped his leg for the first 5 minutes. Bucka got tired, and then Almeida knocked him out in the second round. And then he also won against Lucas Fernando on the Contender Series, which I thought that was a good win. Fernando has decent striking in his own right. I believe he's either a brown belt or a black belt. But the more of the story is, a lot of people, including me, thought, hey, Fernando might be able to take down Cesar Almeida here. And that just wasn't the case. It was actually Almeida who was kind of having some success on the mat, which kind of shocked me. So this is a fight where I don't expect either fighter to attempt takedowns here. If somebody's going to do it, is going to be Kopylov. Kopylov's been spending the last 3 or 4 years of his life in Dagestan. But even then, I doubt it. I think it's striker versus striker here. Almeida's takedown defense looks incredible, and Kopylov's takedown defense looks incredible as well. I hate to repeat myself, Wheezy, but quite frankly, I think these two are going to swing dicks until one man falls, and I think it's going to come down to who has the bigger dick. Wheezy, what are your thoughts on this fight here?
Yeah, I see this as being a striker versus striker matchup, Brady. I mean, Roman Kopylov is averaging 0.4 takedowns per 15 minutes, so we can't really count on him to offensively wrestle much. He's a guy who uses his wrestling in reverse, to keep fights standing because that's where he's most comfortable. And in this case, he's going to be fighting a guy who's got a ton of pro kickboxing experience. This guy's fought the who's who, and he is a elite kickboxer. And I'm talking about Cesar Almeida, but he is the public dog this week. Everybody and their brother is on Cesar Almeida, but the problem is that I think that they just assume that this guy's going to go out there and be the better kickboxer than Kopylov. Kopylov's phenomenal on the feet. They both are. They both are really good. But Kopylov's left leg is crazy, Brady. This guy's body kicks, his head kicks, his ability to be able to work the body even with his punches in addition to the kicks. He's precise. He's powerful. And I think people kind of they seem to be shorting him, saying that Fremd won minutes in round number 1, and that Claudio Ribeiro won minutes in round number 1. Dude, he's never been in any trouble against those guys. And Kopylov is a guy who, like Peter Yan, kind of takes a round to get his reads. But once he gets his reads, you're fucked. I mean, what is this guy doing to people in second rounds, Brady? Guys that aren't wrestling him. And I mean, look, the Alessio Di Chirico, Punahele Soriano, Claudio Ribeiro, Josh Fremd, these are guys that have been around for a minute. Di Chirico has over 10 UFC fights. Soriano's been around for a while. Claudio is not so much. Fremd was a late replacement. He was supposed to be fighting Hernandez in that fight. So Kopylov has been out there against, glory kickboxers in the Roberson fight. So I think that people are kind of just assuming because Almeida's been in the cage 3 times and hasn't been knocked out by Pereira that he's just going to walk through a kickboxer the quality of Roman Kopylov, a guy who has fought the way better brand of competition. You guys, in MMA, we're talking 7 MMA fights at the UFC level for Roman, only 1 for Caesar, and Caesar's fight was against Dylan Budka. So I think that people are kind of jumping the gun a little bit here, just assuming that Almeida's a way better kickboxer than Roman Kopylov. I think that, I think it's going to be close, and I think I might even favor Kopylov a little bit. But either way, this is a great fight. This is great matchmaking, Brady. Like you said, swing dicks. That's what these guys are going to do. Kopilov's going to be swinging that left leg. Caesar's going to be swinging that nasty right hand of his, and they're going to be connecting. I love violence here. Somebody's getting knocked out, right? I mean, somebody's getting knocked out. I mean, people are saying that Cesar Almeida is incredibly durable, never been knocked out. I mean, if he gets kicked in the face, like Kopylov kicked Ribeiro in the face, Almeida's going down. If he lands a left hook to the liver like he did against Fremd, Almeida's going down. So, I mean, I think both of these guys have knockout equity. I played the under 2.5 rounds here at -130, and I'm surprised that line is still there. I mean, if you're betting an over in this fight, your butthole is going to be puckered. It is going to be so tight. I would not want to be betting an over in this fight. I think it's going to be so easy to root for violence here. I think somebody is going to get knocked out.
Yeah, I think so as well. Interesting thing with Kopylov, and you kind of alluded to it. This guy has 11 knockouts, Wheezy. Guess how many of those 11 are in either the second or third round?
I think all of them, right?
All of them but one. He has 1 first-round knockout win. But other than that, it's round 2 and round 3, which I kind of like that. He gets his reads early, and he's somebody that likes to invest. He invests in the body. Like in that Frem fight, he beat him to the body so bad. To the legs. I like a guy like that. But I feel like, the line closing in, I think it should be, close to a pick. And just because I feel like both these guys are going to throw down. Both these guys have a ton of power. Both these guys are very good strikers. I'm with you. If I'm playing this fight, it's some type of violence. It's that under 2.5 at -130 as well. So that's something I have circled for sure. In terms of a money line, like I said, I think a pick'em makes some sense to me. I think in terms of a pick, I'm leaning Kopylov ever so slightly, just because I like how he builds into the fight. I like how he gets better and better. I like how his best rounds are rounds 2 and rounds 3, but Almeida is going to be live in any round himself to land a big shot. So yeah, give me violence or pass in this one. And I'm taking a hard look as well at that under 2.5, which seems to me -130 market wide. DraftKings, BetUS, Bet Online, and Jazz. Jazz actually has it at -129. So if you have Jazz Sports, there you go.
I like violence here, man. Both of these guys are just so dangerous. And Kopilov's got 12 pro wins, Brady, 11 of them by KO. Cesar Almeida's got 5 pro wins, 4 of them by KO. So you add that up, you're talking about 15 of these guys, 17 pro wins coming inside the distance by knockout. This is going to be a kickboxing match. Roman Kopylov does not wrestle offensively. Cesar Almeida does not wrestle offensively. So, yeah, somebody's going to get served, hopefully inside of 12.5 minutes, and I'll be cashing a -130.
Yeah. And by the way, so I do make these graphics manually. I have to do everything, man. It takes a while, but I don't mind doing it. Looks like I made a mistake. For Roman Kopylov's picture, I put Chase Hooper in there.
Oh no. Yeah, that can happen though. Yeah. They got beautiful heads of hair, both Kopylov and Chase Hooper, without question.
So it happens. I think I got Almeida's picture. I mean, that looks like Cesar Almeida to me. But yeah, mistakes happen. And by the way, we haven't talked about this yet, and I don't know if you know about this, but they are implementing the new gloves in this card. The new gloves, which are going to be lighter. And I forget who was talking about it. I think Islam was talking about how they're going to cause like a lot of cuts. So I think we maybe see some more finishes with these lighter gloves.
Yeah, it could be, especially if it's, because the fist will just fly faster if it's lighter. And I heard Islam saying something about the material, that when you're rubbing that material up against the face and the grappling exchanges, that it could cause cuts by the way because the glove is more rigid. So that's interesting. We're going to have to see how that plays out. And, Brady, anytime there's any kind of changes like this in the gambling meta, we have to pay attention to it as gamblers, and we have to see how it affects things in the short term, and try to get on whatever trend this will cause. Try to get on it earlier than everybody else does. Like the damage over control trend is something that you have to really play into your capping. That could be something in the Aylin Perez fight. Perez might get a bunch of takedowns and a bunch of control time like Pudilova did versus Jocelyn Edwards, but the judges might give it to Edwards. So, you have to worry about, if somebody's getting takedowns, are they doing damage, and how is that damage getting done, and whatever changes come to the sport, how you can profit from it as a gambler by staying in front of it.
Yep, because you don't want to be behind. You want to be in front.
That's right.
Yep.
Unless you're walking behind Aylin Perez, then in that case, you'll stay behind there and just kind of saunter behind her and, take in the view.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
There we go.
We got Chronic Combat Conversations. Let's go. We're all liking Kopylov. Let's go. Kopylov by KO. I think fight ends by knockout could be interesting, but it's going to be like the same line as fight doesn't go. I bet the fight ends by knockout in the Kopylov-Ribeiro fight. And the fight doesn't go is like minus 330, and then the fight ends by KO is like minus 200. At that point, is worth it, but I feel like it's going to be like the same price. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. Almeida is going to smash this fake Russian. How can he be a fake? I mean, he's Russian. I mean, how can he fake it? I don't.
They think he's a fake Russian because he's actually like the majority Russian. But as MMA fans, when we think Russians, we think the Dagestani and the Chechnyan Russians that are up there in the mountains that are wrestling. But really, big Russia, is mostly guys that look like Kopylov. They're not Muslims, they're Christians, or they're Orthodox, actually. So that's why you're always seeing Kopylov, putting that sign of the cross on himself when he's knocking dudes out. He is a Russian. That Russia is a pretty big country, actually.
Yeah, it is. I'm not a big geography guy, but I even know that. Is Almeida a black belt in BJJ? Jailton Almeida is, yes. Cesar Almeida, no. Let's see. Yeah, Chase Hooper should have cashed that TKO prop, but Keith Peterson needs some help. Let's just keep it at that. I think we were a little bit rough on Keith Peterson last show.
Oh, he was rough on my bankroll, man.
Oh, yeah.
God damn. That was like a 5-unit swing for me, that being a sub instead of a knockout. Boy, that did not help.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So he's saying, I think this fight starts round 2. Same. I think this fight goes over 1.5, but I think it finishes under 1.5. That's kind of how Kopylov.
2.5, right?
Yeah, 2.5. Yeah. I think it was over 1.5 and then finishes under 2.5. That's your typical copy. Like all his fights, that's how it happens. So I like the under 2.5, and I'll be looking at that as well. Let's see. They are curved. What's curved?
Yeah, the gloves.
Oh, okay.
So curved. So your fingers, you can't really keep them straight out. It's going to kind of like bend them down a little bit. Supposedly, we'll see how it looks.
I thought he was talking about something else that was curved. Not Russian. Okay, that's fair. He's not Russian. That's fair. We can agree on that. We can agree on that one. And Joe's saying Weezy cash some tickets, brother. That is always the goal. That is always the goal. And freaking no nonsense. Keith cost me some units on Chase KO. Yeah, he's costed me plenty of units in the past. That guy. I mean, it's ridiculous. Think we're going to get similar refs to the ones we had in the. That's a great point, because where was that card at? The other
Atlantic City, right?
Oh god, that was my worst card of the year. That was the card where there was eye poke knockouts. SD Dumas got eye poke knocked out.
Yeah.
Weidman knocked out Bruno Silva via eye poke.
Eye pokes.
Gary Copeland's punk ass stopped
like 3 fights.
Yeah, just oh my gosh. But me and Gary Copeland are on good terms now after that photo he took with Gordo. I thought that was a great photo. So
He's a very photogenic individual, that's for sure.
not really, but I guess. But I guess. We got Luke. What is up? What is up? All right, let's keep moving on, Wheezy. To the next fight, we have Randy Brown going against Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. We have Randy Brown, 33 years old, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, 37 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. We have Randy Brown, who's 4 years younger. Randy Brown with a 4-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage. So Randy Brown is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He had a decision win against Chaos Williams, a decision win against Francisco Trinaldo, submission loss to Jack Della Maddalena, decision win against Wellington Turman, and then a knockout win against Muslim Salikov. As far as Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, he is 3-1 and 1 draw in his last 5 fights. He had a decision win against Alexei Konchenko. He had a decision loss to Muslim Salikov, a decision win against Benoit Saint Denis, and then a decision win against Abubakar Nurmagomedov, and then a draw against Rinat Fakhretdinov. So yeah, Randy Brown's another guy where it's like, I don't know. Every time I bet on a Randy Brown fight, I just feel like whatever the outcome, I just feel like I'm disappointed. Even like when I'm winning some of these bets, like I remember laying a massive price tag on Randy Brown against Francisco Trinaldo. I think I got it like minus 250, beat some line movement there. And at the end of the fight, I'm like, what the hell, Randy Brown? I mean, that was a close fight. He lost the 3rd round convincingly. A couple of the other rounds were close. I think he even cheated and grabbed the cage at one point. Like he shouldn't be going to that close of a fight with a 40-year-old Trinaldo. And then I bet him against Wellington Turman. It's like, geez, I thought he was going to smoke Turman, and that fight ended up being a lot closer than the line indicated. So it's like even when I'm winning, I'm like, dang, I don't feel like it was a great bet, either of those. But he's minus 170 here against Zaleski, who had a draw in his last fight, and that was a good draw, I suppose. I mean, Rinat was looking really good early on. Rinat kind of gassed out, and Zaleski had a massive round, was almost very close to finishing him, ended up being a draw there, but Rinat's a guy that people are really excited about, people are hyped on, and going to a draw with him is not the worst look in the world, but he is 37 now. He's going to be at a massive height disadvantage, a massive reach disadvantage, so I don't know, Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I feel like the same about Randy Brown in that I've always felt like he's one of the guys, definitely had one of the highest ceilings in the entire division. You can never really teach height. You can never really teach length and athletic ability. Those are gifts that you either have or you don't. And Randy Brown has been, he has those gifts. He's a really difficult opponent to deal with. It's 6'3" in this weight class, 78-inch reach. Those are middleweight numbers. So Randy Brown is a tricky opponent, and he's, because of that length, he's a pretty good grappler. He's got decent grappling efficiency, good ground and pound, good stand up. But he, in my opinion, he's 6-1 in decisions in the UFC, right, Brady? But like, I feel like he could be 3-3. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he could be 2-4. Like some of these decisions are close. Like he's taken some of these guys, like you said, Trinaldo, the Chaos Williams fight. I thought Chaos Williams won that fight. I had money on Chaos. I was disappointed there. And then with Zaleski, you got a guy who's 10-3 in the UFC. I mean, this guy finds ways to win all the time. Really good performance against Rinat last time out. But he's losing a split decision to Muslim Salikov. It's like, really, that you're doing that when you're beating 7 shades of shit out of Benoit Saint Denis, when you're out grappling Abubakar Nurmagomedov. This guy Zaleski dos Santos is a tough opponent. So I think these guys are very well matched. The question is, how is Zaleski going to be able to deal with the size, the youth, the length of Randy Brown? Because while I don't think Randy Brown is spectacular anywhere, it's the same thing with Elizeu. There's not really any place where Elizeu can say, all right, this is the hole that I'm going to exploit in Randy Brown's skill set. Randy Brown really doesn't have that hole. He's an efficient grappler with dangerous submissions. He's got good length and good power on the feet. He's got good conditioning, and that size is difficult to deal with. So I think Brown is probably going to win another decision here, dude. He just does so well in decisions. 6-2-1 in decisions for Zaleski dos Santos, 6-1 in decisions for Randy Brown. Zaleski's a pretty durable dude, but Randy Brown's been finished in 4 of his 5 losses. So maybe what do we have for a finish-only prop on Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos this week? Let's see. Plus 140. And he's been a little bit more durable. You know, he fights some guys that are going to finish fights. You know, Fakhretdinov is a pretty good finisher. Benoit Saint-Denis is a pretty good finisher. So I don't know, man. This is a hard one, dude. I don't really feel like taking that plus money on Zaleski dos Santos. And I don't really feel like laying the juice on a fighter like Randy Brown, who might just make fight this one within the margins. And when you fight it within the margins and you're laying minus 170, it's a very, very uncomfortable situation when the scorecards are being read.
Yeah, it's just the thought of laying chalk on Randy Brown. I don't know. Every time I do it, I feel gross. I feel disgusting after doing it, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Brady, you and I have both been in situations in life where we've felt gross. Maybe me more than you, but
maybe
we've both been there. We both thrive there sometimes, and I just don't want to thrive there this week. Not for this fight. I don't think I'm going to have any money on this fight this week.
No, I don't have a ton of interest in this one. Let's see. So Randy Brown, looks like there is some money coming in on Zaleski. So Randy Brown opened at minus 170. He's now minus 161, best price. And Dos Santos opened up plus 145. He's now plus 141. The over-under is set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 minus 165. The under 2.5 is plus 135. I'm kind of with you. My pick is Randy Brown by decision. But Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos finish only, I think probably pushes, but at plus money, I don't think it's the worst look in the world. But I don't think I'm getting to anything in this fight.
Agreed. I think I'm going to stay away and save some action for this Almeida Romanov fight.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of spots sticking out in that fight for sure. Yeah. What's up, boys? How late am I? Pretty late, to be honest, but better late than never. We're an hour 30 in, couple fights still left to go. Aussie saying, I think Randy has him covered everywhere. I think there's value on Randy round 3 decision at plus 130. So yeah, they do have that round 3 decision. That's not a bad way to get that price tag down, because I don't really think Randy's finishing Zaleski. Zaleski's a tough dude. So yeah, I don't hate that.
I don't hate it either. I kind of like that. Yeah, that's a pretty good look, because Zaleski's only been finished once. And what was that? Was that the Akhmedov fight? When was that? That was a wild one. I remember when he got finished, it was crazy.
I don't think he. Oh, it was the Leech. The Leech. That was the fight where the Leech.
10 seconds left or some shit.
Yeah, there was like less than 10 seconds.
Yeah, so like that. Okay, yeah, that's rough, dude. Yeah, so I think that finish only for Zaleski plus money, not the worst look.
Yep, it's not. No DraftKings show on Wednesday is BS. Yeah, it sucks. It's an unfortunate situation. I didn't ask for this, but Kyle Marley fashionably late. Yeah, nothing wrong with being fashionably late. Elizeu got robbed of his prime. Bullshit. USADA pop. Yeah, no more USADA though. No more USADA. One of my favorite fighters, always underrated. Agreed. He is always underrated.
He is. He's very good, dude. You don't go 10-3 in the UFC by accident. That is a hell of a record.
You don't. We got JB saying, "Oi!" He's checking in from Twitter or X, whatever the hell it is. What's up, JB? What is up? And Dog saying the under isn't bad. Zaleski's getting old. That he is. And you never know when that chin's gonna go. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Funny how Strickland is a co-main event when a guy like Elizeu is on the prelims. Strickland just fought for a title.
Yeah, but Zaleski knocked him out.
Yeah, but he's not on the pre. This is the main card, right?
Yeah, he is on the main card. Yeah, for sure. Zaleski's on the main card, but he's just making that point that Zaleski knocked out Strickland all those years ago with that phenomenal. What was it, like a wheel kick or
It was a spinning
kick.
Yeah, the spinning. It wasn't a spinning fat kick. Like who does those spinning fat kicks?
Oh, that's Josh Parisian with the spinning fat kick, and same thing with Chris Barnett.
Which, by the way, Chris Barnett has signed for a fight. It hasn't been announced yet, I don't think, but it looks like we're getting some Chris Barnett in the future.
Dude, please let it be a rematch against Fat Volante. That would be that could headline anywhere in the country. So let's do it. Let's get Fat Volante out of retirement. We're gonna call it the Fat Bowl. Fat Volante versus Fat Barnett for all the fat marbles. Let's go.
Dude,
move over, Sean Shelby. Your Uncle Weezy's looking for your job, nephew.
It was hilarious, Weezy. I'll never forget that Jean Volante fight where they were weighing in Friday, and Jean Volante shows up to the weigh-ins drunk. The first ever fighter to show up drunk. And I messaged you saying, dude, I think I might bet on Chris Barnett. And you're like, what's wrong with you? Something like that. And I'm like, oh, he was just drunk. His hair was all messed up. It was terrible. I'll never forget that weigh-in. It was legendary.
I was watching that weigh-in show that they do on UFC Fight Pass with Cormier and Sanko and like Brendan Fitzgerald. And when he came out, when Volante came out to weigh in, Cormier goes, I think he just woke up, you know? Like, so funny, man.
Never forget that. But all right, Weezy, we'll move on to the next fight. We have Jailton Almeida going against Alexander Romanov. I think both of us have a bet on this fight already, and I'm actually looking at adding like another bet on this. And by the way, we have 92 likes, so eight away.
Yes.
From 100.
Dude, this is, could it be that the DFS by the numbers audience is even more welcoming than the pub sports audience? Could it be?
I don't know. That's a decent amount of likes, though. So if we can get 100,
man,
I might go to bed with a smile on my face.
Yes, dude, that could be two of us actually.
Yes. So anyway, we got Jailton Almeida going against Alexander Romanov. We got Jailton Almeida, who's 32 years old, 6'3" with a 79-inch reach. Alexander Romanov, 33 years old, 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. We have Jailton 1 year younger, Jailton with a 1-inch height advantage, and Jailton with a 4-inch reach advantage. Jailton Almeida is 4-1 his last 5 fights. He had a submission win against the Pleasure Man, Anton Turkalj, a knockout win against the very, very handsome Shamil Abdurakhimov, a submission win against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, a decision win against Derek Lewis, and then a knockout loss to Curtis Blades. As far as Alexander Romanov, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a knockout win against Jared Vandera, a submission win against Chase Sherman, decision loss against Tybura, knockout loss against Alexander Volkov, and then a decision win against Blagoy Ivanov. I have so much to say on this fight, Weezy. There's so many spots sticking out. I love that. Yeah. I love this fight. First of all, I got to bring it up. Alexander Romanov is taking this fight very seriously. I want to say that Alexander Romanov is in probably the best shape we've seen him in a very long time. He's taking this fight seriously. He's really focusing on the strength and conditioning, and he looks to be ready to go the full 3 here. Another spot where I'll never forget this, Weezy. I was in Vegas, enjoying Vegas, and I'm looking at the lines for the next week. And a spot sticks out. It's Alexander Romanov, -110 against Alexander Volkov. I pull the trigger, and Friday comes around. Alexander Romanov steps on the scale, and it looked like the dude didn't even train once that fight camp. I knew my bet was crashing and burning before the fight even started. I then added on to the under 2.5 rounds because I'm like, this guy's not going 12.5 minutes. There's no way. So, and that was certainly the case. So Alexander Romanov comes out there against Alexander Volkov. Romanov shoots a takedown. It gets stuffed. He shoots another takedown. It gets stuffed. And then, so he gets stuffed a couple times. And then I'm looking at the fight, and it's like, you look at Romanov, and he's completely gassed. He's death gassed. It was the worst display of cardio I've seen since Rodolfo Vieira against Fluffy Hernandez. And even then, like, Rodolfo at least had a couple minutes of cardio. And you look at Romanov, he's completely gassed. He's done. He has nothing left. And then you look down at the clock. and it's like 403, 402, 401 in the first round. How, like, I've never seen anything like it. So yeah, I think Romanov's one of these guys where he's a great bully, but I think he's a terrible nail. Like, if this guy battles any adversity whatsoever, he looks for a way out. He looked for a way out in the Volkov fight. After getting those takedowns stuffed, he was done. He was done. And then even in the Juan Espino fight, he was death gassed in that fight too. He gets kicked in the balls barely, and then he calls it quits, and that fight goes to decision, and he wins the decision. So yeah, I think it's a good spot for Almeida here. I know it's kind of terrifying laying minus 255 on Almeida, especially after getting knocked out by Curtis Blades. But it's Curtis Blades, man. I mean, what would Curtis Blades do to Romanov? I think he'd do very bad things to him. So I think it's a great spot for Almeida to get back on track. I think Almeida is going to be able to get takedowns here. And I think once he does, I really honestly think the fight's over shortly after. I don't think Alexander Romanov can either A, battle any adversity, or B, I don't think he has much of a ground game off of his back. So I see Jailton getting on top and either pounding away or forcing Romanov to give his back and sink in the choke there. So I like Almeida, and I think it probably could even come early as well. So I want to see what Romanov looks like on the scale, Weezy. I know in this picture he looks like incredible shape, like he can go 15, but I want to see him on the scale, and I want to see what kind of shape he's in, because judging by this photo, but you can on Instagram, you can like edit the photos, and this maybe this is edit. Maybe he edited it to make him look in phenomenal shape. So we're going to see on the scales. But what I really like here is the under. I think we're getting a bargain on the under because Almeida went 5 rounds with Derek Lewis, and I'll never say a fight was rigged, but come on, how are you going to mount somebody for 20 minutes? But yeah, I think Almeida gets back to his winning ways here, and I think he finishes Romanov. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight here?
Yeah, we're kind of lining up the same here. There's some differences. One, I believe Almeida is the much better conditioned athlete. You can just take a look at these guys side by side. And when you've got that picture up there and you're saying that he looks like he's in phenomenal shape, are you talking about the guy in the gray t-shirt standing behind him with the hat on? Because that guy looks like he's in pretty good shape. The guy in the front of that picture looks like Homer Simpson when he had that misunderstanding with his doctor where he thought the doctor was telling him to drink 8 glasses of gravy a day instead of 8 glasses of water a day. This is a misunderstanding that I believe that Alexander Romanov has already had with his doctor. I think he does drink gravy. I mean, you take one look at him in that Volkov fight, and yes, Volkov did grab the fence. And that was a serious fence grab, and it did prevent a takedown. But as soon as that happened, he was done. And that was Alexander Volkov on his back. Can you imagine if that was Jailton Almeida on his back? It would have been the exact same thing. I mean, Curtis Blades survived round 1, and then I think he got a little bit lucky. I mean, Jailton shot in on that takedown, and like I said on Stat Diggers, I got reamed on that fight. I lost a lot of units on Jailton up against Blades the last time out. But I'm going to be betting Almeida again this time. Like you said, I think Blades is better than Romanov literally everywhere. And I think that this is a much easier matchup for Jailton. I think that he is absolutely going to be able to get the takedowns here. And I think that once he gets a couple of them and he makes Romanov work, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to make Romanov work here. And unless he gets really put into a bad that he gets put into a really bad position underneath Romanov, I think that he's easily gonna deal with this dude and probably finish him in the first or second round. I'm looking for a Jailton Almeida KO here.
Yeah. By the way, bringing it back, the throwback. Who was he fighting for that? He wasn't. Who was he fighting for that? That promo.
I think that was the Ivanov fight.
Okay.
The very handsome Blagoy Ivanov, who really pushes a pace on you. I mean, Blagoy Ivanov is the definition of explosive and dynamic. So, yeah, this was. I think this was before that fight. But yeah, I think this is a big step up for Alexander Romanov here, and I think Almeida is going to make it look pretty easy.
Yeah, I don't think those bands are going to help him here.
Yeah, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah, you better get on some steroids because Gilton clearly has beaten him to the pharmacy, I think, when you look at these two guys' bodies close side by side. That's for sure.
Yeah. I got to get me one of those bands. I mean, that looks like a good workout.
Oh, and I bet this underdog, Father. He said thoughts on this under. I parlayed it up. I think it was minus 180 or minus 185, I think, for the under 2.5 is what I got.
Yeah.
Let's see
I played it.
I
played it too. It's probably still minus 185.
Minus 185, yeah.
Yeah, I played it too. Maybe he's talking about the under 1.5, which I honestly I don't mind that as well. Gilton has how many fights? 23 fights. I think 20 of them have went under 1.5. I think only 3 went over. It was his decision loss, his Derek Lewis win, and then the very handsome Shamil barely went over 1.5. Other than that, all 20 other fights went under 1.5. So even like the under 1.5 at plus money makes sense. But I opted for the 2.5 just because I could see this fight finishing in round 2, and I don't think Romanov has the cardio to go 12.5. He did against Ivanov, but like you said, Wheezy, Ivanov doesn't do anything. It's weird. He's like, he has he done anything ever?
Dude, I don't know, man. Like, I think all 7 of his UFC fights have went to decision, and I think even there was a 1 or 2 5-round fights in there. So, yeah, I mean, Ivanov doesn't do anything. I mean, the guy's been stabbed in the heart. I think he's just tired at this point in his life. And if you can't kill a guy by stabbing him in the heart, you're not going to finish him in the cage when they don't let you bring weapons in there. So, yeah, of course that fight went to decision.
Yeah. There's some more band work from Romanov. While we check out the chat, I don't mind the under 1.5. Yeah. I was not expecting it to be at plus money, quite frankly. Because typically when we're talking Gilton fights, we're like laying chalk on the under. But I think since the Derek Lewis fight went the distance, I think we're getting some bargains here. Gilton's pretty fragile too, which is why I don't mind. Me and you were talking about this, Weezy. Maybe the fight ends by knockout. Both these guys, when they've lost inside the distance, it's been by knockout. Romanov has those King Kong hammer fists, and Gilton has good ground and pound outside the Lewis fight, which is weird, but he has good ground and pound as well. So I don't mind like the fight ends by knockout. So yeah, there's some spots certainly sticking out, but I'm on that 2.5 right now.
For sure. Agreed. I'm right there with you, man. And I mean, I think the 1.5 could be, because you're getting it at plus money is playable as well.
Yeah. And by the way, I mean, look at that hair. He's a handsome guy. You got to give credit where credit's due.
He's got a beautiful head of hair on him for sure.
Yeah. Somebody said we got to see the weigh-ins. And yeah, I do want to see what shape, which is weird because I remember checking Romanov's Instagram the week of the Volkov fight, and he looked to be in like decent shape, and then he shows up and he looks in the worst shape ever. So maybe he's doing like the switcheroo where in this picture he looks to be in like the worst shape of his life. Maybe he shows up in the best shape.
Yeah, you never know. He could have had like a Photoshop person in there, like making him look all fat and shit, and then he comes in and he weighs in at 230 and just like absolutely runs through Almeida. I've seen stranger things.
We've seen some very strange things. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So 100%. All right, Weezy. Let's keep moving on to the next fight. We have Kevin Holland going against Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. I think this is a very fun fight here. We have Kevin Holland, who is 31 years old, 6'3" with an 81-inch reach. Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, 29 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach. Mikhail is 2 years younger. It's going to be Kevin Holland with a 3-inch height advantage and a 7-inch reach advantage. But Kevin Holland is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Knockout loss to Stephen Thompson. Knockout win against Santiago Ponzinibbio. Submission win against Michael Chiesa. Decision losses to Jack Della Maddalena and Michael Page. As far as Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Knockout win against Sam Alvey. Knockout win against Cody Brundage. Submission loss to Kyle Bahayo. Knockout win against Chidi Njokuani, and then a submission loss to Michelle Pereira. So, Weezy, this fight was like recently added, right? Within like the last couple of weeks, right?
Yes. Yeah. Just 2 weeks ago, I had to add this to the spreadsheet. So this was a pretty new fight here. I think they felt like they needed a little bit more gunpowder on this main card. And why not bring in Holland and a guy like Oleksiejczuk, who's a pressure fighter who brings a ton of action?
Yeah. This fight's gonna be fun. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I really like Kevin Holland in this matchup. I feel like this is kind of a step down from Holland. You know, he had that main event with Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
He fought Hamzat. You know, he's going out there against Michael Page, who's now fighting Ian Gary, Jack Della Maddalena, and that was a super close fight. And now he's taking on Mikel Oleksiejczuk, who I'm a big fan of. I like this guy. I like all his fights. I like the pressure style. He's never in a boring fight. But, I mean, he's going to be at a massive height disadvantage here. And, you know, I think it could be even bigger than 3 inches. I think Oleksiejczuk's more so 5'10". I don't know. I don't agree with that 6 foot there. So I think Kevin Holland could potentially even be 5 inches taller. He's going to have a massive reach advantage here. And I just think Holland has, you know, a lot of ways to win this fight. You know, Holland has a ton of power in his own right. He's going to be, and this is the key here for me, I think he's the much more durable fighter between the two. Kevin Holland has 36 fights. He's been knocked out once, and that was against Stephen Thompson in a fight where he got injured. Whereas Mikel Oleksiejczuk has 7 losses, 6 of them come inside the distance. So I think Kevin Holland has the better durability. I think Kevin Holland has the better cardio. I like the power, the range, the length of Holland. And then on top of that, he has the most astronomical advantage on the mat if it were to get there as well. So yeah, I like Kevin Holland here quite a bit. I think Oleksiejczuk, you know, when he's winning fights, it's typically like an early-ish knockout. I just don't see him knocking out Kevin Holland. So yeah, I do like Kevin Holland here one way or another to get it done. So minus 260. It's always tough laying a big minus number on Kevin Holland because he's not the smartest guy. Like, he has probably pound for pound the worst fight IQ, but I think no matter what game plan he comes in here with, it should be enough to beat Oleksiejczuk. And then one big thing I want to mention is, so I was going to bet on Oleksiejczuk last fight against Michel Pereira, and then an interview surfaced with Oleksiejczuk basically saying that he's no longer like doing a training camp with the team. He's like training with like some buddies, and that sketched me out, and I ended up passing on it. And then he got finished in like 60 seconds. And then I'm thinking, like, you know, is he with the team now? I'm not sure. Like, he just took this fight on 2 weeks. So I don't know. Like, is this guy even taking this seriously at this point? I don't know. But yeah, this should be Kevin Holland. I think it's a good spot for Kevin Holland to get right back on track in spectacular fashion. Weezy, I know you're a big fan of Oleksiejczuk yourself. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of both of these guys. They're always in exciting fights. And, you know, let me just take the Oleksiejczuk side here. Not that I'm betting him or anything, but I think there's a couple of things that, you know, need to be talked about here. And number one is that Holland has a huge advantage on the ground that he's probably not going to take advantage of at all. So that's really frustrating, because if you felt like, you know, Holland would shoot some takedowns here, he could find himself in a front choke position and darce this dude and make it look so easy. You know, if he wanted to do that, that's how you beat Oleksiejczuk. I mean, you could beat him on the feet too. Dustin Jacoby won a decision against him in a pure kickboxing match. But, you know, I mean, if you want to take the easy way out against Oleksiejczuk, get that easy win, you take him down and you submit him. The guy's ground game is absolute trash. But we know we can't count on Holland to do that. He refused to do it against Wonder Boy on a pay-per-view card, you know, and this is another situation where if I'm laying minus 260 on Kevin Holland, I better know that he's going to grapple.
He's not. He's not grappling.
Yeah, I know, and I don't think he looks minus 260 on the feet against Mihail, because the problem is that you'll love the 3-inch height, you love the 7-inch reach advantage. That's all great, but Mihail's going to be walking him down. Mihail has the perfect style to nullify a reach and length advantage. So I think there are reasons why, if you want to take that underdog shot on Oleksiejczuk, that it makes sense. A, that Holland may not have the fight IQ to grapple offensively and make this look like he is minus 260. And B, if this does take place at distance striking range and Oleksiejczuk is walking this dude down and landing big body shots, he could win this fight. I don't think you're ever going to knock out Kevin Holland to the head, but to the body could be a completely different story. This fight's going to be at 185. Both of these guys have fought at 185 before. They're both welterweights now, but because, like you said, Brady, the late notice of this, these guys didn't want him to cut that extra 20 pounds down to 170 because they both don't walk around at 185. I can guarantee you that. So, this is going to be a short notice fight that's going to be a banger. And then I think, this would be dog or pass on the money line for me because of Holland's fight IQ and because I think that Oleksiejczyk's style on the feet is a good stylistic matchup for an opponent like Kevin Holland. But I'm going to pick Holland to win, A, because I know that he's incredibly durable, and B, maybe he doesn't need to get a takedown. Maybe it's a knockdown. Maybe it's just a scramble. Maybe somebody slips while they're throwing a kick. But if this thing gets to the ground, I think Kevin's submitting him. So I think that Kevin's the rightful favorite here, but minus 260, man, no chance am I laying that on his money line.
Yeah, just because it's Kevin Holland. I agree with that. But I really do like him in this matchup. But yeah, he's not grappling. I mean, if anybody expects Kevin Holland to go out there and shoot a takedown, you're going to be very disappointed. The only time I remember him doing something like that was in that we did it against Charlie Ontiveros, and then he did it against who was it? John Phillips. He did it in the third round, and he actually took him down. He actually landed some nice takedowns in that third round. And if he had any fight IQ at all here, he would. And if he wrestled, he looks minus 10,000 here. I think Oleksiejczyk's ground game is just terrible. But I do expect this primarily to take place on the feet. So yeah, I'm looking forward to losing some money on Kevin Holland. I hate to say it, but I'm super confident in the guy. I don't think Oleksiejczyk's taken this serious. So yeah, Holland for me. And then I might look at like a Holland inside the distance at even money. Oleksiejczyk's been finished in 6 of his 7 losses. Might be looking at Holland like a 2-3. I think he can wear him down. Like Oleksiejczyk has about 1 round of cardio, then he kind of tapers off a little bit. So I'm a lot more confident in Holland, it seems like. But yeah, we'll see. I want to know if Oleksiejczyk found a gym yet, or if he went back to his old gym. It's just a weird situation. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be backing a guy with no gym. It's kind of weird. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
Yeah, and when he said that he had, he didn't need a game plan because he's a striker, I kind of understand what he's saying. But yeah, you want to be training against high level opponents. You're about to fight Kevin fucking Holland. This guy's got 21 UFC fights in like 6 years, dude. He's a very tough opponent. So, yeah, you better be taking this seriously. You better be training your ass off. You better be ready to go out there and go the full 15 because Kevin Holland ain't going away. Unless you're submitting him on the ground, there is no chance you're knocking this dude out. So, he better bring it. Otherwise, he's not gonna have a fun night.
So Holland opened up minus 210, currently minus 260. Oleksiejczyk opened up plus 170, currently plus 220. Over under set at 1.5 rounds. The over 1.5 is getting smashed. It's now minus 165. The under 1.5 is plus 135. And I would lean towards this fight going over, but I think Holland is live for like a 2-3 situation. Trailblazers by Club and Sub. That is very much on the table. I mean, that's how Oleksiejczyk's lost in the UFC, other than Jacoby. Kevin should flex on him. If Holland loses it to Oleksiejczyk, it'll be the worst loss on his record. And yeah, it would, because his losses include Jack Della Maddalena, Michael Page, Stephen Thompson, Khamzat Chimaev, Marvin Vettori, Derek Brunson, and Brendan Allen, and Thiago Santos. Those are incredible losses. Yeah, this would be by far his worst loss if he loses to Oleksiejczuk. Holland hasn't seen his win bonus in the last 2 fights. Take the path of least resistance and take him down. He will not, but I do think it had to be like a Club and Sub. Holland knows that he has value to the company as a guy who will put on fun fights on short notice. He's not going to burn that by trying to win a boring style of fight. This fight's not. No Mikhail Oleksiejczuk fight's ever boring, ever. So this is going to be a very fun fight. All right, we'll move on. We have the co-main event. We got Sean Strickland going against Paulo Costa. We have Sean Strickland, who is 33 years old, 6'1", with a 76-inch reach, 28-6 and 3-2. In his last 5 fights, we have Paulo Costa, 33 years old, 6'1", with a 72-inch reach, 14-3, and he is, I think, 3-2 or 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So Sean Strickland is coming off of a loss to Dricus du Plessis. Very close fight. You can make a case for it. Sean Strickland, but very close fight nonetheless. He beat Israel Adesanya, put off a big upset and won that fight by decision. He knocked out Abus Magomedov in the second round. He beat Nasruddin Imavov by decision. Then he lost to Jerry Cannonier by decision in a fight that arguably could have went his way as well. As far as Costa, he beat Yoel Romero by decision, lost to Adesanya by knockout. He lost to Vettori by decision, beat Rockhold by decision, and then lost to Whitaker by decision. So Paulo Costa is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. All right. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me here is the fact that this fight is 5 rounds. I think that's huge for me. If this fight was 3 rounds, I feel like it could be a pretty close and competitive fight where Costa probably wins that first. Strickland probably takes a while to get going and ends up probably being like a split decision type close fight where Strickland's doing the better work in terms of the numbers and Costa's landing the better shots, the bigger shots. But the fact that this is 5 rounds, I think it just heavily favors Sean Strickland. Like, the more this fight goes on, the more it's going to favor the guy. Paulo Costa kind of gets worse as the fight goes on, and Strickland's just the complete opposite. He gets better and better as the fight goes on. So, yeah, I like Strickland here. 5-round fight. Could be competitive early. Maybe Costa lands some big shots early, but as the fight goes on, Strickland's going to get his reads, and he's not going to slow down, and I think Costa will. So I like Strickland by decision. I like the over 2.5 as well. And I even don't mind like a Sean Strickland round 4 or 5 or decision, that combination there as well. See, I like Strickland here. 5-round fight. I think it favors him heavily.
Yeah, agreed, dude. I mean, like, we know that Costa can win some moments here. I mean, the guy is built like a Greek god. He hits very hard. And, if he lands the right shot, he could land the bigger shots early in this fight. But like you said, as the minutes go on, you got a guy like Strickland who's attempting 15.6 distance strikes per minute, while Paulo attempts about 11. And you got a guy with 64% striking defense in Strickland. So he's going to be staying relatively safe. This guy's only been knocked down 3 times in 21 UFC fights. And I mean, like, one of those comes from Pereira. So you got to have some power to take out Sean Strickland. You're either going to be, landing like a spinning heel kick like Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos did, a big left hook like Alex Pereira did, but other than that, Strickland's very durable and he puts a pace on you. He lands 6.3 distance strikes per minute spent at distance. He's landing at over a 40% clip. He's got excellent defense, positive 1.6 distance striking differential. So a guy like Costa, who's not known for putting on a lot of volume, who's known for slowing down later in fights, that's going to be a problem against Sean. So I parlayed up the over 2.5 rounds here. And I'm with you that if I can get Strickland for 4 or 5 decision at plus money, rather than, putting minus two what on his money line right now? 250-ish?
240.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of juice to lay, but you can get plus money on his best win condition because I don't think Paul is going to gas out after 1 round like Abus did, and also I think that Sean's going to have to be a lot more careful early in this fight than he was against somebody like Abus, who he did finish, because of the conditioning, because Paulo gets tired, but he pushes through it, Brady. He's one of those guys that's got the mouth wide open, but he's still throwing bombs at you. So he's not the kind of guy who's going to quit, while other guys will slow down and then their output will slow down and their power will really slow down. Paulo's going to still bring some of that with him into the later rounds. So I think that, Sean's going to have to be a little bit careful early here.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, 4-5 decision for Strickland. I saw it was plus 145. I can dig it. I can dig that. But I'm already on the over 2.5 as well. And maybe this fight could play out close. Like, Sean Strickland's had some like questionable decision wins/losses. Like, a lot of his fights are just close, right? Because he's like more of a volume guy. And then Paulo Costa could maybe land some big shots, maybe rock Strickland. And then on top of that, the judges just suck. They just straight out suck. And I feel like they don't have the attention span to sit there for 25 minutes. So yeah, I feel like the over is probably my favorite spot on this fight here. And then if I was to take it a step further, that 4-5 decision, but the over 2.5 around like minus 180 now, I still don't mind that. Minus 185. The fight goes the distance plus 150. I don't mind that. And then Strickland by decision plus 215, plus 220. I don't mind that. I I get maybe Strickland could finish him late. And that's kind of why I like that 4-5 decision. But Strickland's not much of a finisher. He doesn't have a ton of powers. And Costa did go 5 rounds against Vettori. So Strickland by decision for me.
Yeah, that's probably how I'm looking at it too. Maybe a 4th or 5th round KO for Strickland. But I could see him catching him early too. You know, you just don't know. Because Strickland has gotten early finishes before. So I don't know, man. It's a really fun fight, but I'm interested to see, you know, what version of Paulo Costa shows up here, because he's fun to watch, man. And I think it's an interesting clash of styles here.
Yeah. 100%. By the way, we hit 100 likes. So heck yeah.
Yes.
100 likes. And we are at 395 live viewers, which is a Stat Diggers record.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, man. Hey, thanks for supporting us. Even in the post Pub Sports Radio days, you know, they let us go. This was not us leaving them. It was the other way around. But you guys haven't left us, and we appreciate that. So thank you for hanging out with us. Thanks for bigging up in that thumbs up, and thanks for staying with us here.
Yeah, the support's been great. I didn't know that many people cared, to be honest.
Well, we care, Brady, and that shines through, you know, so let's go.
We care. But yeah, got a ton of support, ton of messages, comments, which was nice, which I didn't know that many people cared, but a lot of people seem to care. And we care as well. We care as well.
Yep, yeah. We care a lot. Yeah.
100%. All right. Strickland. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Strickland. Imagine maybe betting Strickland after a round. Maybe get a better price tag. Yeah, I don't hate that look as well.
Agreed.
Lean Strickland, but I'm staying away. Yeah, I'm on the over, looking for nobody to die within the first 12.5 minutes. I think Sean is more likely to win. Costa lost to Izzy Vettori and Whitaker. All good losses, but yeah, I think it's a good matchup for Strickland. When I first saw this fight, I'm like, man, I think Costa might be live. And then I saw it was 5 rounds. I'm like, no, I don't like it. 3 rounds at that price, yes. 5 rounds, I don't like it. I don't trust Costa in a 5-round fight, especially against Strickland, who's been 5 rounds how many times?
Dude, a lot. I think Sean Strickland fights 5 rounds on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in camp. I mean, like, this guy, he doesn't do anything but spar.
Yeah.
While Costa doesn't even show up for most fights. So let's worry about Costa showing up on weight, you know, without excuses before we start really getting into the brass tacks of this one.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Weezy, it is time for the main event. We have Islam Makhachev going against Dustin Poirier. We got Islam Makhachev, who is 32 years old, 5'10", with a 70.5-inch reach. Dustin Poirier is 35 years old, 5'9", with a 72-inch reach. We got Islam, who's 3 years younger. Islam with a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach disadvantage. He got Islam Makhachev is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Submission win against Dan Hooker, round 1. TKO against Bobby Green, round 1. Submission against Charles Oliveira, round 2. Decision win against Alexander Volkanovski. And then a first-round knockout win against Alexander Volkanovski. As far as Dustin Poirier, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Knockout win against Conor McGregor. Submission loss to Charles Oliveira in the 3rd. Submission win against Michael Chandler in the 3rd. Knockout loss against Justin Gaethje in the 2nd. And then a second-round knockout win against Benoit Saint-Denis. Yeah, I mean, you look at the line, man. I mean, Islam Makhachev's a minus 550 favorite, and Dustin Poirier's anywhere from plus like 405 best price to plus 450. I see a plus 480, and this is the biggest underdog Dustin Poirier's ever been in his entire career, including against Khabib. He closed as a plus 385 underdog. So, I mean, you know, he's a big favorite for a reason, in my opinion. Like, I don't like Dustin Poirier's chances here. I think Islam's going to take him down. I don't really think Dustin's going to be able to do much about it. I don't think Dustin has the best takedown defense. I don't think he has the best get-up game. We've seen a lot of guys have success taking him down. Like, even Benoit Saint-Denis, I know he gassed out in about a round and a half, but Benoit Saint-Denis was able to take him down multiple times, was able to put him into some dominant positions, and got reversed, but that's because he's more so submission over position. We saw Charles Oliveira take him down in the 2nd round and control him for that entire 2nd round. 3rd round starts, instantly gets his bat taken and subbed. We saw Michael Chandler take down Dustin Poirier. We saw, Nurmagomedov take him down 7 times and sub him. So I feel like it's Islam It's Islam here, and it's Islam really however he wants. Dustin Poirier has a puncher's chance. He has a ton of power. Islam's only loss comes by knockout, but I just don't think Islam's going to give him much opportunities. So yeah, it's Islam for me. No hot take for me. I think Islam dominates and finishes in the second or third round. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight here?
Yeah, this line is where it is because of what we've seen from Dustin Poirier's ground game over the stretch of several fights, getting his back taken by Benoit, getting his back taken by Michael Chandler, getting his back taken by basically a bunch of guys who Islam Makhachev would take down and submit, with ease. So it's really scary because you're never really going to get a fighter of Dustin Poirier's quality at plus 450 ever. That's something that you really do have to keep in mind here. If you hold your nose, knowing that Dustin's at a massive grappling disadvantage here, if you hold your nose and just say, all right, you know what, I'm fine with that. But if this fight stays standing for long stretches, Dustin's going to be live to land a big shot. And we've seen Islam Makhachev knocked out before. So, but what we also have seen is that not only, has Dustin Poirier been put in several bad spots, but he's been put in bad spots by guys that, Islam Makhachev would submit fairly easily, in my opinion. So, Islam Makhachev, second round, third round, fourth round submission. I think that that's how this fight goes. I think any time that Islam is uncomfortable on the feet, he's going to be able to find ways to get this fight to the ground. And if you can't count on Dustin Poirier keeping this fight standing, I don't see how you can even think for a second that he's going to win this fight. But, like I said, Brady, plus 450 on a fighter the quality of Dustin Poirier, that's not a bad look, dude.
Yeah, nothing's wrong with passing as well. Nothing's wrong with passing.
Yeah.
Which I will be on a money line. You can't lay minus 555 on Islam. The boat has sailed certainly. Not even a parlay piece at that point. I'd play the fight doesn't go to decision before that, which is a much better price even. So yeah, from a money line standpoint, I'm just staying away. But there are some spots I like. So I think so the over 1.5 seems to be a popular play, and I get it. Dustin Poirier fights, 5-round fights, they typically do go over 1.5 rounds. And I wrote down every which way the Dustin Poirier 5-round fights have finished. So 2 have finished in the first round. One was that McGregor injury at the end of the round. And then one was Bobby Green. And then in round 2, he's had 4 fights finish. Round 3, he's had 4 fights finish. Round 4, he's had 2 fights finish. He's had no fights finish in the 5th round. And then he's had 2 decisions. So when his fights are finishing, it's typically round 2 and round 3. It's typically when that over hits, and then it's like slightly after that over 1.5, and like late round 2, round 3-ish. So I'm thinking about maybe taking like an under like 3.5, maybe. Maybe like a fight won't start round 4, maybe, because 57% of Dustin Poirier's 5-round fights have finished in round 2 or round 3. I'm thinking maybe Islam round 2, round 3, something like that. I haven't played anything yet, but those are kind of the spots I'm sticking with. I think that Poirier is at least competent on the mat enough to survive those first 5 minutes, and after that, I think Islam's going to start cooking him, start getting into dominant positions, and probably finish him late second is what I'm thinking. But yeah, money line minus 555. What are you going to do? It's minus 700 on a book. I see minus 702. It's unplayable. And again, if I'm going to parlay anything, it's that fight doesn't go at minus 435. I struggle to see this one going 5. Any thoughts on any props sticking out to you, Easy? And I'm assuming you're not laying 5 units on Islam to win like 0.92.
I am not. Dude, what about in this damage over control area of scoring? How about Dustin Poirier to win by decision at plus 1,600?
I don't even know what that looks like.
Well, it just looks like Makhachev not getting him out of there, right? Because Makhachev, the thing about Makhachev that bothers me just a little bit, Brady, is that he's massive for the weight class, right? So he's got a really nasty weight cut to get down to 155. Yet his style, being that wrestling grappling style, is one that takes a lot of energy and a lot of movement, a lot of scrambling, a lot of wrestling, a lot of moving a man around another man's body weight. So I tend to think that sometimes Makachev is very low output. Even with his takedown attempts, he can be a little bit stingy because he can't push that kind of pace for 25 minutes with as much weight that he cuts. So if that's the case, and this fight does go over, and Poirier is able to get back up or stop some takedowns and land the bigger shots on the feet, plus 1,600 for a decision prop is a kind of interesting. Poirier by KO, which I think is his best route for victory, plus 700. This might be one where you take small shots on the dog here because the line is just crazy for Makhachev. Mine is 555 against a stud like Poirier. I think maybe that would be the way to have fun with this, is to play the Poirier side.
Yeah. My fun's going to be probably on the Islam round 2, round 3. I really think it's probably finishing in those rounds, but yeah, I don't know.
And cashing bets is more fun than not cashing them. So I think you might have more fun than me because you're on the side that's more likely to happen there. But I mean, I haven't made any bets on this fight yet. I wouldn't even parlay Islam at minus 550. So you said the same thing already.
Yeah, I'm definitely not touching. I mean, he's talking about retirement. He said there's a good chance he retires after this fight, win or lose. So yeah, some type of Islam bet for me. Let's see what you guys got in the chat. Then we will head out of here. Mr. D with you on that Dustin by decision. I was thinking like the Gilly maybe for Dustin. That's plus 2,200. He's going to attempt at least 5 of them. At plus 2,200. If you're getting like 5 attempts, it's probably not going to happen, but I don't mind like a 2,200 to submission. Dustin by decision. People are on the Dustin by decision. I was not expecting that. What if Islam chose to stand and bang and trade, pull to Max Holloway?
That would be wild. That would be wild. And Islam Makhachev bettors all over the world would be putting their fists through whatever walls were closest to them.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen crazier. We saw Jonathan Almeida mount Derek Lewis, but I think it'd be just foolish to not wrestle here. Just foolish. Islam's about legacy is going to win at all cost. It's not going the distance. I'm pretty confident it does finish. Poirier's chances to keep the fight standing. Yes. Delta saying 0 chance. Dustin wins. Everybody has a chance. Gifted this fight because there was literally nobody else after Justin lost. They needed Islam to fight. Dustin wins a controversial decision rematch set for October. Islam pulls out. DuBronx steps in and becomes champ. There we go. Gilly gang in this bitch. He's gonna attempt at least 5 of them, 5 or 6 of them. So he does it a lot. He does it in a lot of his fights. He even did it against Khabib a couple times as well. So yeah, we're gonna see some Gillies from Poirier. But yeah, Weezy, we did it. We had a good turnout for the very first Stat Diggers on the channel. And as of now, it'll be on this channel until if anything changes, we'll let you guys know. As far as the DFS show, it's up in the air. I'm not sure what we're doing yet for that, but we'll see. And then me and Weezy will be going live for Probability Wednesday, 10 Eastern with Luke. And that's going to be a fun show. Weezy, what else you got going on for this week?
Yeah, I'm going to record an episode of Just the Tip, which is going to be a very shortened version of it for this week. And I'm going to be putting the long version of Just the Tip, which goes over 2 hours every week, on the Patreon for the people who support. We're trying to build that $25 tier of the Patreon that's going to have access to the subscriber only content. It's going to be those long balls deep breakdowns of fights for every single fight, and also probability on the non-pay-per-view weeks will be subscriber only. We only are going to put it out there on Brady's channel on the pay-per-view weeks to try to build that Patreon community to a suitable amount to where we don't have to do that anymore. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to building that Patreon community with the Probability Patreon and the Probability Dub Club. Check me out for that. And yeah, I'm glad that we got to keep this show going. And I'm really glad that you guys chose to come here and support us, whether we're on Pub Sports Radio or not. So we're going to keep this going. We're going to keep trying to give you guys the best information so we can all stack cash tickets like flapjacks together. Thanks for joining us. Let's make some money betting on these fights this week.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So yeah, my full card breakdown video will be out tomorrow morning. Gonna try to wake up. Well, I will be up early. I'm gonna try to record it very early, get it out hopefully in the afternoon. Got some family stuff going on, so gonna try to get it out before then. And then yeah, the typical content: probability Wednesday, Friday, final thoughts, and then Saturday the best bet show. And yeah, guys, that's about it. Best of luck for UFC 302, and we'll talk to you guys soon. See you later.